Man, you must be very fun at parties.
Well, I'm correct.
Case in point. I was just telling my chat that I had a bit of an episode last night after taking an edible. So I I had my COVID shot as well. And so
Okay.
and so I think that exacerbated the symptoms that you get from the COVID shot. I was not doing too hot. So I was like shivering and
Okay.
whatever else, but I'm good today. So
Well,
we're
that's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Glad you're here for this debate. We are now live on Platinum Politics. I'm assuming we were live on your stream too. I guess let's
Sweet.
get right into it. Welcome to the Platinum Politics debate night. Today's topic is healthcare is a human right. Now, we have two sides of that coin here today. We have Alec Gunter, who believes that healthcare is a human right, and then Connor from the YouTube channel The C Works, uh, who doesn't believe it's a human right. So, ready to hear both sides. I'm ready to hear what you both have to say. We're going to go ahead and start this. We'll do 5-minute openings. You don't have to use the whole time, but we'll do the 5-minute openings. And we'll do a 5-minute timer. And since Alec has he's defending the claim, I'll go ahead and give you the 5 minutes to start.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a nurse. As a nurse, we take an oath that we are to provide the best care possible. It's basically in the oath that healthcare is in fact a human right. And so that's not only part of my oath as a healthcare professional, it's just something that I believe is a fact. And not only is it a fact, but it also is just like beneficial to society to maintain that as a right. Because, people try to approach this from the standpoint of, this is like the good thing to do. This is like the nice thing to do, the moral thing to do. And all that's true. But I think today I'm going to tackle it more from like the practical perspective. Because if you think about it, the human body is the most incredible machine on the planet. I believe in most people's proclivity to go forward and exercise their innovation, their creativity, and their hard work. Nobody wants to slouch around and be lazy, right? So if we only give people the things that they need in order to survive and thrive, they will pay us back in dividends. And so when it comes to healthcare, if somebody like stubs their toe and breaks it, I want them to be able to go get that toe fixed free of charge. There are people willing to do it. So just let them get their toe fixed and then they can go back to work. And then they don't got to worry about, well, I'm not sure if my toe's broken or not. I'm not going to pay the $500 it would take to fix it, right? So, and then their work suffers from that. Maybe their toe is broken and then they get an infection and then they have to deal with an actual systemic infection. And that costs way more and it takes up way more time when they could have just gotten their freaking toe fixed, right? But they didn't because it was paywalled. So it's a very inefficient, unorthodox way of conducting a society when you do not guarantee healthcare, especially when you have the means to do so. And that's why I believe that healthcare ought to be a human right, not only for the moral good, but also the practical good.
All right. Great opening statement. Connor, if I'm not mistaken, did you not ask for a 7-minute opening?
Yeah, I can get through it as much as I can. We can have the back and forth and stuff. But yeah, I just have a
Okay.
good amount of information. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, either is fine with me. So
All right. Well, we'll go with 5, and if you need to extend a little bit, we'll do that. So your 5-minute timer starts now.
All right, so I wanted to say I respect Alec that he is a nurse, and I know that nurses work very long shifts and they can be stressful. But I wanted to actually get into his main argument and what someone actually means when they say healthcare is a human right through the lens of positive versus negative rights. When we talk about a universalized system, we're talking about a positive right that the state issues an entitlement that is provided by so-and-so government, while I would say a negative right is whenever we stop the interference from so-and-so government from doing it. And in the DM, Alec has made it clear that he does support a Scandinavian model of universalized healthcare, which is a positive right to healthcare. It's important to this argument because, like, we have a right to firearms granted by the Constitution, but this does not mean the government goes around handing firearms to people who turn 18 or 19 years of age. My argument is pretty simple, is that I don't believe people have positive rights to suboptimal services when there's more productive alternatives for health problems, and that single payer is fundamentally suboptimal when there are more productive alternatives for health problems. So people don't have that right. This is actually documented in a book, two books that I recommend reading by Nim and Sadandaji, which is Debunking Utopia and the Henry Fords of Healthcare. The reason why I don't think that single payer or universalized healthcare, or why I think it is suboptimal, sorry, is because it fails at rewarding incentives. This is because it fails at creating incentives from having a planned economic model funded via taxation. Success is just heavily bureaucratic, where administering a particular medication or treatment is considered suboptimal, or sorry, considered optimal rather than patient outcomes. This is demonstrated with performance targets that have showed gratuitous waste, as documented in Nimitz 2016 from the London Institute of Economic Affairs. Nimitz has also demonstrated in his 2015 work, Organization Patient Safety Incident Reports, that suboptimal hospitals in European countries, optimal being normative features like mortality, mass delivery costs, etc., will still receive similar resources regardless of how proficient they are within said system. This leads to a phenomenon of Bowman's cost disease, which is where the state actually inherently prevents economies of scale or production efficiency because of increase in business size. Bowman's cost disease is a phenomenon where there are increases in wages despite there being little to increase in productivity of the service or delivering patient care. The economy of a whole in European countries has become more productive, yet the healthcare delivery stagnates with an aging population and increase in demand. Higher wages are paid for the same services, which result in a requirement of tax hikes to finance the planned economic model, ultimately hurting overall economic productivity in the process. This is true where we even see the European Commission in 2013 verify these findings, deliberately saying that since the 1960s, these are in line with the Bowman's theory of unbalanced growth. The financing of physicians, nurses, and pharmacists becomes expenses in these systems as inflation continues to rise. As a result, there are increases in healthcare service prices, even within these countries, to make up for the loss. There's also then an increase in taxes to finance the wasteful system. But we actually see, even within these prize Nordic countries, and I have the sources up in the chat a little bit, you can scroll up, but all these welfare state policies did not come into play until the 1970s with new public management. And we see with the top 10 country with the longest life expectancy given by the World Bank World Development Indicators database, that we see that the top 5 countries in 1960 or before the welfare state involved Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Denmark. Yet in the year 2000, or the peak of the welfare state, we see Iceland drop from 2nd to 4th place and Sweden drop from 4th to 10th place. So these arguments are really just post hoc or after, therefore because. A similar pattern holds for the top 10 countries with the lowest child mortality rates, provided by the UN Interagency Group, or the IGME. Sweden dropped from first in 1960 to third in the year 2000. Norway dropped from third in 1960 to sixth in 2000, and Denmark 5th to 10th place. This is with the exception of Iceland and Finland when it comes to child mortality. This actually is even demonstrated with Germany, where we see the East SFR and the West, or the former East SFR, have different health outcomes. In 1995, we see higher mortality rates or worse mortality rates in the East. West Germany just started to alter its Bismarck model with the Healthcare Reform Act in 1989, increasing its GDP from 7.8 to 8.3% of GDP for healthcare costs. And this is according to Demo Trends 2014, by the way. So we even see it in Europe. Green 1985 shows that healthcare was primarily provided by private or nonprofit firms, with as I mentioned earlier, the introduction in the 1970s of new public management. And even in the US, private practice is actually lower than it's ever been. The AMA, or American Medical Association, shows private practice is lower.
2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. This is because inflation actually has led to a 33% decrease in physician salaries, leading to, or the conclusion that extrinsic motivations do influence physician and nurse outcomes. And as a result, physicians gravitate towards larger firms or nonprofits. Physicians also overwhelmingly attribute the reasons for this shift to payment and financial issues, but also complex bureaucracy and regulatory demands. 63.6% of physicians wanted to better manage regulatory and administrative requirements. We actually see that the best hospitals rated in the US, according to Stoker and Goodall 2022, are Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic. Both hospitals are owned and controlled by physician CEOs. And we can actually see this with the country of India, where we see with cardiac thoracic surgeries. There is a prolific success with Narayana Health's cross-subsidiary model introduced by physician CEO Devi Shetty. Taylor 2017 shows the overall service not only quicker, with door-to-balloon time is less than 90 minutes, but a number of acute MI deaths in a month is lower and better than the benchmark provided by the Society of Thoracic Surgeons in the US. Not only is it better quality service, it is substantially more affordable. Narayana Health charges less than $2,000 for open heart surgery, according to Taylor 2017. In the US, the same surgery costs $100,000. We see this even with other things with LASIK and ophthalmic care, where the cost remains consistent or even lowered. And the reason why we don't see things like what I would want, like physician owned hospitals, it's because the Affordable Care Act made them illegal post 2010. They also made it illegal to expand current businesses beyond their current size, Aaron Field 2023. Now, obviously, I don't support oligopolies, and I recognize that people need help, but it's important to note what enables these oligopolies. The Urban Institute 2025 wrote that the nonprofits such as Blue Shield, Kaiser Permanente, or UPMC received over $267 billion in government grants by filing IRS tax form 990. 60 to 80% of these nonprofits would be operating at a loss if they did not receive government funds. So the state enables their monopoly. If you really want to get rid of the monopolies, do not monopolize healthcare do not monopolize healthcare via the state in the name of human rights. Yet still, people accuse physician-owned hospitals for cherry-picking patients. Yet observational case studies in the 2015 British
All right,
Medical
Gunter,
Journal. Okay, go ahead.
your time is up. If we want, we can go ahead and just jump into open floor. Or Alec, would you like to respond to anything to that directly, uninterrupted?
Not directly.
All right. Well, the floor is open. You guys go ahead and chat, and I will moderate as needed.
Sure.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Connor, I guess my question is, what if a 2-year-old gets cancer?
I think that even if I say so, that would actually demonstrate the original intent of Medicare or Medicaid in the country, which so constitutionally in the US is that we recognize that Medicaid and Medicare is not like a constitutional right, even though the government or state still provides like insurance for them. That doesn't demonstrate the positive right for universalized health coverage, even if I would grant that a 2-year-old receives service. But in my ideal view, is to answer your question, in my ideal view, what we would do is we would have a service-based system where we have physician-owned hospitals, private practices that provide the majority of the care. And then we can have charity organizations, food banks. We can have things like churches that help fund and care for a cancer patient in the world. And we actually see that, like I am Christian, and we see that Christians to Pew Research actually adopt more, they donate more. So if we had my system with the extrinsic motivation and my intrinsic motivation of my Christian worldview, I think we can provide care for
Uh,
people with illnesses and stuff like that. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
It's fine. It's just that you're assuming the existence of these charity funds. What if there are none?
They exist. They
They
exist.
exist
Yeah. The
now, but
Catholic
what if
Church
they
is
don't? Like they run out, right? Like they're asking for money all the time, presumably because they need to keep the coffers filled. So if it's a charity fund, basically what you're saying is you want a private organization to collect voluntary taxes from people and then put that in their coffers so that they can pay for the 2-year-old when it gets cancer. But like why not just have the taxes do that?
Well, as I said, even if I granted that taxes do that, as I said, I would have a pragmatic and also what's it called, an efficiency standpoint. So obviously, I do agree with you that
Okay.
we have an obligation to care for the 2-year-old.
Yeah,
I don't
okay,
disagree.
great.
It's
That's it. Then you believe in universal health care. You believe in the rights for
No,
that
that's a
2-year-old.
non sequitur. That's a
No,
non
hold on,
sequitur.
hold on. I didn't say completely. I said for that 2-year-old that has cancer. Yes, you believe in the right of that 2-year-old to get care regardless of whether or not they can pay, right?
State universalized coverage is not the same as a duty to provide care
This is a
personally.
very simple question. Do you or do you not believe in the right of a 2-year-old with cancer to receive care regardless of whether or not that 2-year-old, I'm sure they have to take some time off of work for this, so bear with me, that 2-year-old can pay for their cancer care, right?
It's a loaded question and it doesn't
No, it's
demonstrate your
not.
position.
No, this
Yes,
is
it
a very
does.
simple question. No, do 2-year-olds
No.
get cancer? Do they? Let's start there.
Yes,
Okay.
and also here,
So
let me demonstrate this. So if there's a person right now out in public and they go into cardiac arrest, a nurse or a physician might have a duty to provide care for them and give them chest compressions. That does not demonstrate the positive right of the government providing universal coverage. It's a complete non sequitur in your view. It's an
okay.
emotionally loaded one too.
No. You're taking an emergency situation where if I'm just out in public and somebody has cardiac arrest, of course I give them CPR and BLS. Okay, of course I'm going to do that. And I don't expect payment for that, by the way. But at the same time,
Wait, would you give up your nurse salary right now?
if I didn't need the money, yeah.
Wait, so you would work for free right now?
I am very close friends with the people that I can't technically call myself friends, but I spend so much time
I
with
get
them
what
that
you're
it's
saying,
hard
yeah.
to get around that. The patient that I work for, and their family are close to me now. So if they needed me to come in, if they're like short of nurses and they need somebody to come in and take care of him for a little bit, yeah, I'll go in for a few hours, sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. So as I said, is that your problem with my charity position is that people won't do it, but you just admitted that there will be people who, like you said in your opening, that there will be people who do it anyway and provide these services.
Yes.
So why don't you create your own organization? As I said, in my
Okay.
view, you as a nurse are allowed to do that, and you go and you help people like free of charge.
Okay, let me ask you this. You have the cure for cancer. You just have it in a little vial. Okay? 2-year-old comes up, the mom of a 2-year-old comes up, says, "My child has cancer. He needs care." Now what?
So have you? This actually gets into I like reading sci-fi, and I can demonstrate my what's it called argument. Is that like for
Man,
example, is
okay.
that if there was no consequences, like if they just magically like went back to normal, is that I'd probably administer the cure to them. I don't see a problem with that. However,
Okay,
whenever you just
great.
grant when you no here, let me explain. Is that for example, I've also played. If you ever played the game The Last of Us, is it's like, oh, would you administer a cure or get the cure to the disease of the cordyceps virus? But at the end of the day, you're going to kill someone to get it. Is that there's consequences and trade-offs to any medical decision,
No,
and it's just an
no,
idealistic
no,
worldview.
man,
It doesn't
no,
exist.
no. It's very simple. The hypothetical is you have the means to cure this child's cancer. Do you do so without any expectation of payment? All you got to do is hand the vial over.
Charity exists in my view. I just said it does.
Okay, so then you expect payment. You don't think this 2-year-old has a right to health care then?
No, I think that charity is a virtue because I have a virtue ethics system. That doesn't mean that we
It
make a
doesn't matter.
system
No,
that incentivizes it.
man, your entire system involves the inherent, not only the inherent kindness of people, okay, but the ability to even pay anything. What if you live
Wait.
in
So
like
is it more kindness or is it more empathy whenever my system with Narayana Clinic has showed to decrease cost of mitral valve or cardiac thoracic surgery in India? More people are going to get care under my system, yet you're claiming the moral high ground of empathy.
you
I
have
want
no
to help
evidence for
people.
that?
Yeah, I do.
No, you
Narayana
don't.
Clinic, I literally demonstrated all my sources. You can scroll up
Man,
actually in the
do you
chat
give the vial
right
to the
here.
2-year-old or not? This is very simple.
Here, self-reported from Narayana Health,
Oh my
Narayana
God.
Institute, A. Taylor Escobar, K. Ediakumar, or
Well,
whatever.
I for
Yeah, it's
one
in the
would give it.
chat.
I for one would give it to the 2-year-old.
I
I think
would
the
give it to
2-year-old.
yo. I would probably too.
Okay, then at some level, you believe in free health
In
care for
charity.
some
No,
people
I
in
don't.
some certain. Okay, you give
You
the
don't
vial and
understand
then
positive
what? You
rights.
give the vial and then what?
You don't
What happens
understand positive
next?
rights.
What happens next?
Um, I would probably give the vial, but this is the thing is that you don't understand chemotherapy treatment probably either then, because chemotherapy
It's a
takes time to
hypothet.
do.
Okay, dude. Listen. Okay, fine. You have the best chemotherapy in the world. Okay,
Hmm.
got it. Now,
Yeah, this is the
do we
original
do
argument for Medicare and Medicaid.
Man, you're overcomplicating the shit out of this. My question is, if a
No, I'm being
2-year-old, okay,
specific.
my point is, if you have a child who is in a life or death situation thanks to something like cancer, they
I
should
already
get
admitted
care.
emergency
Period. End of
treatment.
story. No matter whether or not somebody is able and or willing to pay for said care, they should just get it. Because there will be people willing to give
Just
it to
get it's
them.
not an argument.
You said you would give the vial. So as long as you're
Charity,
alive, there
yeah.
are people who are willing to give them that care, right?
Yeah. Also,
Free
is
of
that there's a
charge.
problem. Okay, there's a problem with your view because I already conceded that there's a difference between universalized healthcare or the system
Man,
you support versus emergency care, which you, as I said, is that you can have an obligation for
I
a
know the
nurse to
difference.
provide care in
Thanks.
emergency.
That's not my
Yeah,
point.
it is your point. Well,
No,
your
it's
point doesn't understand my
okay.
worldview.
You understand my point better than me. Please explain my point to me. Go on.
Okay, sure. Pretty much is that your point is you're trying to say that because I would give a cancer treatment to a little kid, that may entails that I think people will have a right to healthcare via a universalized health system.
Some people.
However,
No, no, not via anything. Just in general, in a vacuum. Some people, sometimes, when they're unable to procure payment, they get care regardless. Take my patient,
mhm,
for instance. Here's something more grounded in reality. My patient is quadriplegic, nonverbal, with trach vent, can't even breathe on his own. Okay, he lays in
mhm.
bed and watches Elmo. All right, he's fully cognitively aware. He just can't do shit, okay? So my question is, what kind of job should this guy get in order to pay for his ventilator?
I literally already explained to you that there's other means by which to do it.
For free, right? He gets it for free.
There's no such thing as free healthcare.
Oh, he gets it without needing to pay himself, correct?
Mhm. Well, he's going to
Okay.
pay via taxation either way.
He doesn't have income. He doesn't have money.
You can still
He
pay
can't
taxes
have
via
money.
other means.
The only way
Yes,
he
you
can
can.
have money is through other people putting it into his account for him. There is
Yeah.
literally zero way for him to do anything beyond lay in bed and watch Elmo. And sometimes blink, and sometimes raise his heart rate, and sometimes shit and piss. That is all he's
Um,
capable of doing.
I mean, it's kind of interesting too because like Stephen Hawking had ALS and he was still very successful.
Okay, so then what job should my client get? What do you
I
recommend?
don't. Well, what
Please,
I would
I
have
need
to
to, I
know
need
their
to,
exact
I need to
patient
bring him
charts
these
and
job
everything.
listings because he needs to understand that he doesn't get care for free, right?
So here's the thing: is that I'm not going to know your exact anecdote, and it's not a good
This
argument on a
isn't.
systemic level.
This is a real thing. It's SMA, okay? Spinal muscular atrophy. Look it up.
Hmm.
It is a progressive
I know what
disease.
spinal. I know what that
Okay,
is. Yeah.
then you understand that there are simply some people that cannot procure the money for their care, no matter what they do.
Yeah. Do you know what charity is? Yeah, because for example, actually, I can give you another real life example. Holy Spirit Hospital in Pennsylvania was owned and controlled by Catholic nuns for a long time, but it
Hmm.
wasn't actually until the U.S. shifted away from it
Okay, what if there's no
that the
charity?
hospital, the Catholic Church is the largest charity organization in the world, has existed for
What if
thousands of
there
years.
is none? Because charity, again, relies on
What if the
people not
Catholic
only
Church
being
stops
kind.
existing?
Okay,
What if the
hold on. Charity relies not only on people being kind enough to give their money, it
like
relies on
being
people
Christian?
having said money. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're a guy like Elon Musk, frankly, the richest man in the world, I don't trust you to give money to a dying 2-year-old. I really don't. Okay, he hasn't.
The owner of Chick
So,
the owner of Chick-fil-A actually has donated a lot to child
great,
cancer
good for
research.
him. Good for him.
So yeah, so
Okay?
billionaires and all
What
them
you're
help
saying,
poor
okay,
people.
charity, all you're saying is that there should be no reins at all whatsoever on who pays for this treatment, but somebody has to, right? Somebody has to.
No,
Because you're already presuming he gets the care.
no, I'm saying is that there's better
Okay,
means to
you're not presuming
provide
he
the
gets
care.
the care. Okay, so there's a chance he doesn't get it, right?
If he doesn't get it, if it's an emergency, like what are you talking about? Like if someone's on the street dying, like that's different.
Okay, he would be in his house dying without his ventilator. So
Hmm.
who pays for it?
So who's pays for it? Well, as I said, is that it depends on the means by which it's paid.
Okay, so there's a chance that nobody pays for it, right?
Well, what are you talking about?
What am I talking about? You're saying that charity pays for it, right? Or
Even in your
Medicaid or
view, if
whatever, Medicare. Like,
even in your view, is that I could just say, well, as I said, is that with increased healthcare costs in European countries as a result of this shitty like universalized system, is that there's still a chance that they will pay out of pocket by some extent, and the cost of it increases. So your view does not actually demonstrate a better position for the patient. My view gives
him
better.
having a ventilator versus not having one, I think that's better for him, personally.
No. And my view gives ventilators better to people
Oh,
than your view.
so your view does imply that he just gets one by default, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the
Well, then he
means.
doesn't get one. He doesn't get one. Say he doesn't get one. Now what?
Well, he doesn't get one. As I
Yes.
said, is that there's other means by which to do it. You
Okay.
don't
So then
understand the argument.
So then your system does obligate that he gets one, right?
What?
Your system implies that he will get a ventilator. Period. End of story. Right?
For free? But there's
No,
nothing free.
Will he get one or not? Is he guaranteed a ventilator in your system?
I don't know someone's exact system.
Why are you
or
being so
situation.
slimy? You're being so
It's not
slippery right
slimy.
now. Just answer the
It's
question, man.
All right. I'm gonna jump in here. I have a question.
Christ.
Okay, I feel like we're kind of getting lost on this anecdote. Connor, you say that your view or the way you think about healthcare would provide more ventilators to people to do this.
I'm
thing.
saying. Well, I'm
What
saying is that my.
could you explain
Oh,
a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so pretty much is that we see in the systemic reviews from George Mason University that physician-owned hospitals provide better quality care and more accessible to more people. They accept more people on Medicaid. They also accept around the same for minorities and stuff, people who are disadvantaged. You could make an argument that they accept people who are like more healthy, sure. But what I'm saying is that he's just saying that, oh yeah, just grant it to them, just give it to them for free. But the thing is that there's no such thing as free, and it just is a non sequitur for his vision. Because as I said, even if I said, okay, like for example, I as a parent or someone as a parent might have an obligation to their kid, but like if I give them like $100, that doesn't mean that I can't like have my kid work for me or something like that. In this view, what I'm saying is particularly my system delivers more care to more sick people, and then the people left over, we have charitable organizations like the Catholic Church to help them.
But what if we didn't?
That begs the question. We've had the Catholic Church longer than any
do you-
state organized healthcare system.
That begs the question.
Yes, it does. It just grants you stupid
No.
shit.
What is begging the question?
It's assuming something is true without justification.
No.
Yes.
Okay, you can think that. Okay,
Well, yeah.
let me ask you
My
this.
position's correct.
Sure. Let me ask you this. What if you're in some horrific accident and you just become quadriplegic yourself? What do you
So
expect
Stephen
to
Hawking.
happen?
So Stephen Hawking.
What is the process that happens next?
There's a lot of different means by way to prevent or administer care. Like
I'm
we've been
asking
doing
for
this
what
for
happens
like
next.
so just to clarify, I become paralyzed from like the waist down or neck down.
Sure.
Well, I actually I've even seen people learn to drive, I think, even with like those little like things you grab on with
Great.
your teeth and shit.
That's not my
So
question. What happens next?
I just told you they've received care via different means.
By a different, what do you mean different means? Different means from what?
Yeah, and what are you talking like by different means, as I said, through private enterprise and
Okay,
the private means of protection
first of all, are you guaranteed care?
for free? No.
Man, I'm gonna rip my fucking head off. Are you guaranteed care after you're in a horrific accident? Do you just get
Guaranteed
it?
care, just get it?
In
Like,
the moment, in
for
the moment.
free?
You're so
Like I
obsessed with
don't
money.
get your
Okay, why do you like money so much? What's your obsession with money? Don't you know it's the root of all evil?
nice try using a Christian verse, but even in Christianity is that we recognize we reward people for good actions.
My question is as follows. You are in a horrific, crippling accident. What is the process which happens next? What's the next step? Do they check your bank account?
So this is the thing, is that I don't get your point because the US has been
You
doing
can't
this
answer the
for
question.
ages.
Just say you can't engage. Just say you can't engage. Go on.
I am engaging.
No, you're
Your
not.
Questions
No,
are
you.
like they make
I'm
no
sorry
sense.
for asking questions, but please humor me and answer it, please.
I just said
Grant
this doesn't
this one
demonstrate
favor, please.
it doesn't demonstrate healthcare as a human right in your view.
Okay,
Because
if you say so.
Because I said so. What in the U.S. we have
I
had?
gave you the
for
argument. Why are you mad? Why are you still mad?
No.
If you
No,
say so,
wait,
sure.
Let me explain. So in the US, we have had healthcare for decades in ways of administering care without it being your version of a human right. You don't understand the argument. It's really simple. It's that
And
there has been a time where people have been quadriplegic and that we have provided care for
quadriplegic.
them. Sorry, I mispronounced. I'm speaking fast.
Sorry, it
But
was just funny.
it is kind of funny actually, but like basically they still receive help regardless, and we can help them. It's just that you are saying that, oh, you want to help them, therefore I'm right. That's your argument.
Why are you denying your like the goodness inside of you? Like you're
Denying the
fighting it
goodness.
down with like what are they called, the jackhammer? You know what I mean? Like you're just
You
like
know, Christians
drilling
actually
it
donate to
down
charity more
because
than
you know that I'm
well,
right.
Christians
You
more,
would just
well,
give
Christian
the care at the
charity.
point.
So charity. What have you volunteered for, like a pregnancy resource center or anything?
No, but I've worked like, I mean, during my rotations, I was like, in the
Yeah.
maternity ward, if that counts. I don't know where you're going with this, but
Well, like that's what I'm saying is like, for example, is that my system not only prevents like sociocultural norms from shifting, but like if someone like a Christian wants to provide a certain care or choose a certain care that benefits them, they can do that in my system.
they can, but they don't have to. They're not obligated.
So they're not forced.
Yeah, correct. Nobody's obligated in your system to pay for
Can you
that,
wait,
right?
can you define slavery? So like wait, so I can use force to make you provide care for me?
No, to pay. I said to pay. Okay, because in
Wait,
your
so will you
system,
write me a check for
the in your
$10,000 right now?
system, hold on. In your
Are you
system,
generous
all,
enough to provide me? I have a lot of debt. Will you pay off my tuition for me?
in my
What?
system, there would be no money. Okay? But let's go past that for a second and just go with your system because there is money in your system and you seem very obsessed with it.
Will
So
you give me your
when you,
house?
hmm?
I don't like I'm
I
paying
like
rent.
my
Like, will
house.
you
I
give me
like
your
living
house?
in my house. No, you cannot have my
But I
house.
have a
Any other
but I have a
irrelevant
right to
questions?
housing. I have a right to housing. I have a right to housing, bro.
Yes, you do. There's
So why can't I
plenty of
have your
housing that's
house?
not because you don't have a right to my house,
Oh, so
dumbass.
you don't have a right to someone someone
Okay, do
particularly their
you or
service for healthcare?
do you not recognize that there are healthcare professionals who are simply in the field because they like helping people?
Helping people, yeah, people can help people
Okay,
through charity, yeah.
so then you acknowledge that even without payment, if they didn't need it, for instance, there are some doctors who would simply give you the care, right? Just because you need it.
Um, sure, there's charity,
Hey,
as I said.
you appeal to
But
their
here's the thing,
kindness, right?
no, here, let me actually address this point. I brought up in my opening statement, according to the AMA, the reason physicians have shifted from private practice to nonprofits and like big hospitals and stuff is because of the money. The money motivates them to still provide it. As I said, they're not contradictory things to be extrinsically and
You're
intrinsically
wrong.
motivated to provide care. What the AMA, I literally gave you a source.
No, if it were just about
You're
the money,
wrong
they'd
because
all.
you're wrong.
Is that what I said, Connor?
No, what I'm just saying is like
Okay.
either
Try to
way is
listen.
that you can do things out of kindness and still want to get paid for them. They're not
Because
mutually
the
exclusive.
reason that you want to get paid for them is because that money can give you things like rent payment or food on the table, right? My argument is just guarantee that for people. And then you won't be worried about who needs to pay for what 2-year-old gets cancer. We just give them the care because there's a
Just give it.
2-year-old with cancer. Who cares about the money?
Not caring. Who cares about the money? As I said, is that there's
Yes.
societal implications to all
Well,
of this, and my
she
system.
sniffs, pushes glasses up. The 2-year-old may have cancer, you see, but we must worry about the stockholders. See, the line must
That's
go
like a
up.
straw.
The
That's
line
a straw
must
man of
go
my
up in the
argument.
hospital,
That's
you
a
see,
straw
because if
man.
the line dips
Nice straw
down,
man.
that
Straw man.
2-year-old's going to
Straw
hell
man.
after he dies. Did you know that?
Literally a straw man of my entire view.
I just think it's funny because you're so obsessed with money. A 2-year-old with cancer should just get the care, right? Yes, say yes.
Just get
Because I know
care.
you believe that. I know you're a good person. I know you can do this. A 2-year-old with cancer gets the care they need, right? Regardless of who can pay, they just get it. You can do this.
I literally
Say
already
yes.
said even if I say yes, it doesn't demonstrate your position.
But you're so defensive, man. Just
You're
be
so
a good
I'm
person for a
causing correct-
second. What?
What?
Why is
Wait,
this so hard for you?
if I define a good person as
Oh my
someone who gives private property rights, are you a good person? So why
I
are you
don't know
such a
what to do
bad
with you,
person for
man.
preventing?
I don't know.
So why, wait, so are you a bad person because in India, when they get cheaper, affordable care because of my system, are you a bad person because you deny that to them?
Sure, yes.
You
I'm a
make it
terrible
harder for,
person.
All
I'm the
right.
bad person
okay.
here.
So I'm just hopping in here. Someone in the chat said this debate is flip-flopping between ethics and economics from sentence this sentence in this argument. Let's pick one and let's kind of go down that route because I think that would be a bit more productive. So
my
ethics or
contention-
economics?
My contention with that is they're intimately intertwined, because the economics of it is the correct decision to deny this 2-year-old care until it's paid for. That's the economically viable decision. Charge them 500G and then the line go up. You can't
Yeah,
separate the
so
two.
like, for example, I already said, in my view, is that emergency care is different than universalized health care.
Great. Now what? Does the 2-year-old get care
Yeah.
now?
Does the 2-year-old get care? They can get care through various means. It doesn't grant you your state apparatus
So
of
they're guaranteed
universalized
care,
coverage.
right? In your system, they're guaranteed care.
What does that even mean?
They get it somehow.
They get it somehow.
Yes, they just automatically get it somehow, no matter what, right?
Like you're going to force someone to give it to them.
Okay, so it's not guaranteed, right?
I'm trying to understand what the you're asking, bro.
I
Like,
don't know
as I
how
said,
much
is
more
that
simple I can make this.
they get care, as I said, is that like their parents have an obligation to them. Their, what's it called? Like other people can provide charity and help them. They can do a no GoFundMe, stuff like that. I don't see your point.
Okay, so the 2-year-old's not guaranteed care, right?
From their parents, they are, yes.
Okay, what if the parents can't pay?
That's where they go through my system.
Okay, so through your system, they're guaranteed care, right?
By their parents, yeah.
Okay, so what if the parents can't pay? So how do the parents get the money through your
Then
system?
we make
how
an
do they
economic
procure the
system that
money?
makes it easier for. Then we make it easier for the parents through my economic system.
Okay, easier for the parents, but not completely possible all the time. Some parents will fall through the cracks,
Yeah, by
right?
forcing
Okay.
other people to do all your other
So
stuff.
some parents will fall through the cracks, right?
They do that in your system too.
Okay, we're talking about your system.
They do it more
So-
in your and they do it more in your system. Like the East Germany,
No,
like their
you.
mortality is
No,
worse.
you. Uno reverse card. No, you. Why can't you just
Wait,
defend your
so-
fucking
wait.
system? I'm
I
just asking
literally
an honest
did.
question,
It's
man.
better for them. It's better for them.
Okay, some parents will fall through the cracks in your system. Yes or no?
Yes, in every system they do.
Okay. Oh, fine. I'll grant you that. Therefore, in your system, the 2-year-old is not guaranteed care, right?
They're guaranteed care by their parents.
Okay.
But what are you talking about? Like, yeah, you're guaranteed care by your parents. Your parents have a moral obligation to their kids.
I will simply assume this makes sense in your head. It does not make sense
What?
to me.
That's not an argument. Basically,
I'm
what
not
I'm
arguing.
saying is, what? Okay,
That's
so
not an
here, let me
argument. You're right.
explain
It's
it to you.
not.
Let me
It's a concession that I
mansplain
cannot
it.
combat your internal
let
logic.
me
I
mansplain
can't
it
do
to
it.
you. Okay. Oh yeah, because it's pretty simple. It's called economies of scale, but also pretty much in my system is that a parent, like let's say we have like breast milk or formula for a kid, is that the parents have an obligation to feed their kid and stuff like that. Your system is just granting that the government needs to just hand out a bunch of shit that they took via taxes. That doesn't demonstrate healthcare as a human right
You know a lot
at
about my
all.
system. Go on. Please tell me more about my
Yeah.
personal beliefs.
Yeah, sure. So there's the Bismarck model where they take money from your
I didn't know what the
employer, like
Bismarck
from your
model was. But now,
yeah,
now that you say that I know what it is, please continue.
Oh wait. Yeah, so I'm explaining Scandinavian social democracy to you. Do you want me to
Okay.
continue? So then you have in Nordic Scandinavian countries, you have particularly large public expenditures where the state taxes a bunch of people at very high percentages of their income to finance their system, and it leads to worse outcomes, as evidenced by what I gave you earlier about the top 10 by child mortality, and also top 10 of what's it called, life expectancy and mortality in general, is that it goes down when you do your system. So more people fall through the cracks. Why don't you just have empathy, bro?
I'm just looking at something.
It's up in the chat. You can scroll up.
But what's up in the chat?
Yeah, go to the chat, scroll up. I provided the sources and stuff like that.
Provided sources for what?
Like the welfare system being worse for like outcomes.
I'll take your word for it. I just think that the 2-year-old should get care.
Yeah, and let's make it a better quality and through the private means of production.
And not guaranteed.
And not guaranteed. By guaranteed, you mean by their parents they provide care?
The
Or do
parents
you
that
mean,
might
or
fall
do you
through the
think that?
cracks, the parents that
do you-
might not
do you
have the money.
And should we make life and everything more affordable through my system?
So some 2-year-olds with cancer will die in your system, correct? From lack of care.
In every system, we are talking about which
Okay.
system does that less.
Every single time that I poke a hole in your system and honestly critique it, you go,
Your system
but
does
every
the
system
same.
does that. But that's not just
Yes,
my
it does it
system.
less-
I promise,
less
bro.
kids from cancer
Every
in my
time.
system.
Every time.
Yes, my system's better for kids with cancer.
Even
Why
though
don't you
some of them
understand about
die,
that?
right? Just answer honestly. Some
Some
of
of
them
them
will die
die.
from lack of money, right? From lack of being able to pay, right?
Some of them will die from lack of money.
From lack of
So
being
here,
able
let me
to pay,
say,
yes.
let me say this just flat out, because this is the cruel reality that we live in. People die from lack of money. Yes, in my system, and more in yours.
Okay. Well, there's no money in my system, so I guess all deaths would be from lack of money.
Money is literally just a way that we use and barter resources. There's
I don't
still
wanna go down this
scarcity in
rabbit
your
hole.
system, bro.
My whole point is,
There's still scarcity in your system.
fine. My whole point is we should not force people to pay for the care of a dying 2-year-old. Just give them the care. Worry about
Wait,
okay.
you're forcing people to
let's do
provide the
this.
care to them.
Compromise. Give them the care now, just regardless of whether anybody can pay or not, just give them the care, right? Just give it to them. Step 1. Step 2, we strap that 2-year-old with $1 million in debt, and they can carry that for the rest of their lives. Deal?
So a loan.
Sure.
So private
At
banks
2
and shit,
years
right?
old. Huh?
So like a loan.
Yes, at 2 years old, we give the 2-year-old a loan, and we charge interest.
So how is that through the state and your positive right to healthcare?
I didn't say that's through the state. I just said somebody gives them a loan. Maybe it is through
And
the
also,
state.
by the
Sure.
way,
the state
to
gives them a
correct the
loan.
chat,
Sure.
to correct the chat about Tikwokwes are and you. It's not when you're weighing the outcomes of two systems, you're allowed to weigh the odds or the outcomes of both systems. I'm not saying that, oh, just you do it too. I'm saying that your system does it worse.
Do we have a
Two
deal or
completely
not?
different things. A deal that the state provides healthcare via
The
loans.
2-year-old with cancer automatically gets care for that cancer, and then we give them $1 million loan with interest, accumulating interest, right?
A $2 million loan.
$1 million, or however much the care is. We can say 200,000 if $1 million's too much, because clearly 200,000 is more reasonable, right? For the 2-year-old.
Well, yeah, even still, 200,000 would be more reasonable, but
For the
as I said,
2-year-old,
it just
right? So the 2-year-old gets a $200,000 loan with accumulating interest, and I guess they just like go grab a job at McDonald's at the ripe age of 5 in order to start paying that off, right?
so Medicaid and Medicare, which doesn't guarantee the right to healthcare.
You keep pivoting. You keep pivoting.
It's not pivoting.
Because
It's the reality.
Yes, you are, because you know that this is ridiculous.
Because you don't understand. You don't understand your own position.
You're so silly. Like the 2-year-old can't pay, brother.
Very smart. Yeah, this is Medicare and Medicaid, and that's not guaranteed or considered a right in the U.S. of universalized coverage.
I just think the 2-year-old should get care. Period.
Yeah, as I said, is that your view is just, oh yeah, I don't care if less people actually get it because of economies of scale. It's just, I want you to be able to force someone to provide it for you.
Okay, a 2-year-old getting care for cancer does not mean that another 2-year-old will not get care for their cancer. I want them all to
so
get
like
it.
so like if I get hemorrhoids right now, and in my view, like, can I just force you to like provide care for my hemorrhoids?
Force who, and what are you forcing?
You. Yeah, I want you to wipe my ass and take care of me for my hemorrhoids.
What are you talking about? We're talking about
You're
cancer,
saying
brother.
that do
You
I
can't
not
do-
do I
okay,
not have a
You're
I not
trying
have a
to
right to
no,
your
hold
care?
on. I know what you're doing. You're trying to make this ridiculous to make your side sound better. Okay? Because you
my
know
side
that
is
the
better for
2-year-old with
kids with
cancer
cancer.
is too much for you to stomach. You can't
No, it's
stomach it,
literally
so
better
you're
for them.
pivoting. You're pivoting.
I literally
If you
just
want,
granted your entire view.
would you like to talk honestly about what we ought to do with such a person? Would you like my honest response, and then we can go back to the 2-year-old with cancer? Is that fair?
Yeah, it's literally just an appeal to emotion, as I said. It's literally like
No, I said this in my opening statement. Do you okay? That 2-year-old could be the next Einstein, right?
The state is not your family. People have obligations to
Everybody's
their family,
your
and
family.
people have. No, they're not. You're
Yes,
not my
they
fucking
are.
family, bro.
The sooner
No,
you
you're not.
realize that, the sooner you'll see my point of view. Okay,
No,
everybody is your
not
fucking
really.
family. And once you start treating people like that, your life will improve immensely. All right?
No,
That
you're not my
2-year-old
family.
deserves care because
You're not my mom, not my
not
dad.
just for the moral argument, okay?
Wait, will you pay child support for me then? If you're
Will
my
I
family?
pay child if I'm capable of doing so and you need it, then maybe. What's your point?
Okay, so okay. As of this debate,
Why do
to
you keep
guarantee
personalizing this
I'm
to
right,
me?
write me a $10,000 check right now. Write me a $10,000
I don't have
check to prove your
$10,000
position.
to give you. For the
How much
record,
do you
I have.
How much
For
do
the
you
record,
have?
sir, for the record, I have let quite a few people borrow quite a bit of money from me, and I never ask for
Okay.
it back. I just rely on them, on their good nature and their goodwill, that they will give it back to me in their own time and in their own way, because I know that my friends are not trying to stiff me. Okay, so I have let people borrow a fuck ton of money from me. Now, is there anything else about my personal life that you'd like to talk about? Or would you like to go back to the 2-year-old with cancer that you don't think should be guaranteed care?
I said they are guaranteed care by their family, but you're not my family.
Who fall through the cracks sometimes, right? Yeah, they don't always have the money, right?
That doesn't demonstrate your position.
If you say so.
Do you want to?
I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's what losers say whenever their position is
You're
shit
right.
and doesn't give care to cancer. Because as I said, my view gives more care to kids with patients. Yeah, I mean, I don't I don't see your position when my care provides better cancer treatment. It provides quicker cancer treatment so it doesn't metastasize. It allows people to give to charity if you want to. It's not guaranteed the same way is that it's guaranteed.
There you go. Thank you. Finally, we got there. Thank you.
Yeah, their family provides care to them, not the state.
The 2-year-old with cancer is not guaranteed care under your system. Correct. Thank you. Got it. That's all I wanted. That is all I wanted you to say. No, you already said it. No, it's too late. The words have slipped from your lips, sir. You do not think the 2-year-old automatically gets care.
All right.
From the state,
so
no. From the family, yes.
Someone in chat had a question for Connor. What if the said family doesn't have the resources to fulfill the obligation?
And that's what I said.
We are all brothers and sisters in the eyes of God.
Don't have the resources, we can have charitable organizations. We can have and make it cheaper so that they can, with the cross-subsidiary model that Narayana Health has shown to help poor people more. He doesn't demonstrate a universalized coverage. It just demonstrates mafifis that I'm going to take advantage of a traumatic situation and portray you as a bad guy. It doesn't. My system's better for kids with cancer, period.
I'll just have to take your word for it, brother.
All right. Well, I guess just to switch this up, we usually bring people up on stage to ask questions. And there's a couple people in the audience who have their hand raised, but I'm gonna go ahead and start with Mythic Spider.
Now, real quick, how are these questions gonna work? Because is it gonna be go ahead.
We'll just go ahead and we'll let them get their question out, and then a follow up if needed, and then we'll move on from there.
Sure.
And hopefully that'll kind of move the discussion along. Hello, Mythic Spider.
Hey, Mace. And also, hi, Alec.
Hello.
My most immediate question is because I've tried to follow Connor, your system a lot more here. So could you is there any what's the most immediate equivalent nation state wise that follows your model, and why is it that you've just taken, as far as I can see, very select sample sizes and you're trying to apply it as it's the superior model too? Because I don't know, just explain to me the nearest equivalent to what you want and where it's practiced, mostly so I can then look at and see if there's any real evidence of that beyond a handful of decent, but only that decent sources.
So what I am doing is I am using a case study analysis and also the systemic reviews that I provided about physician-owned hospitals. Is that if I gave you, I would say that it would be best not to go over a country particularly, because every country is going to have some form of hybrid approach in regards to healthcare. My position is that basically is what we see with these case studies is that in India with Narayana Health, and there's even places in China that I provided with the book Henry Ford's of Healthcare with ophthalmic care, that the costs get lower and the quality gets higher and more people are delivered on a mass scale, a better quality service. So whenever I say this, or my position is, it's not that I don't think that people or that we shouldn't try to help people. It's that he doesn't fundamentally understand that there are different means of providing care and that doesn't guarantee the positive right of the state to do so. And even as I mentioned with the cancer situation, is that there's Medicare and Medicaid in the US, but that's not a universalized positive right to his proposition. It doesn't show his position and it just is trying to be a loaded question or a gotcha.
Are you appealing, because I notice you're trying to lean on charities a lot. Are you appealing to, I know you don't agree with it, but are you appealing to the old Bismarckian era? I mean era, not like system, like 1880s, 1890s, of the mixed approach, free for all. You had some charities, you had some insurance companies, you had just actual practitioners that would just have you pay up front, just the return to the market free for all.
I would just say that you I guess depending on what you mean by your question, I guess I would answer yes, but I don't know the exact like implications of that, so take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
My system is that you can have insurance, you can have a private enterprise. If Gunter wants to open up his practice that provides care for free whenever he wants to, I respect his right to do so and stuff. I don't want to force Gunter to provide all my universalized coverage or get people to just provide all my care. I think that can lead to actual incentives where what happens is that people don't take their health as seriously too. But what I'm saying is that is there can be many players at play and it's good to have a flexible economic system to help people in general. Is that if you want a certain type of care, you can receive that type of care and you get to customize your care in my position. And I want it to make it more affordable to the public in general.
Okay. Well, real quick, I finally found it because I knew it was up there. I saw them. I'm taking a look at your sources now, and I can't help but
Yeah,
notice
Mythic.
something.
Let's get the final follow up, and then we'll get somebody else up here.
Yeah, 100%. This one will do pretty good, I think. All of your sources that I can read here are 10 plus years old, and your argument that stems on all of these countries that are slipping down the rungs in terms of longest lifespan and whatnot, you appear to have left out the fact that they're only really being overtaken by countries that are extraordinarily richer and more wealthy than them, or implement perhaps even, especially in the case of
That's
Japan and
not
whatnot,
true, actually.
even
That's not true,
more.
actually.
Do you think that Sweden is not poorer than the Empire of Japan?
No, there's fundamental misunderstandings that India actually declared themselves a socialist republic in 1976, and the Alma-Atan Declaration of 1978, and in 1983 there's a national health plan which banned private practice for government doctors, and the Alma-Ata declared healthcare as a fundamental human right. So India actually attempted this model of a positive right to healthcare of universalized coverage because of this emotionally loaded argumentation. But regardless, is that it led to worse and they got rid of it after 20 years. Yes, the sources are from 10 years ago. I recognize that. But regardless, is that you can find plenty of sources that are far more recent. And I think the one systemic review I actually was from like 2020s. So I think that it's still valid implications from it just because it's a little bit like a decade old.
All right. Any response to that at all, Alec?
Not at this time.
All right. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and bring up pick because I was not looking at who was first, but I'll bring up Potato Dough. Hello, Potato Dough.
Good evening, friends.
State who your question is for. Ask the
It's
question. You can
more
get a
so just
follow up, and
yeah, I'm sorry.
we'll get this moving.
I just wanted to ask, Connor, could you please list the sources? Unless you have, because I haven't seen.
Yeah, I also actually think of making a video about it, but they're up. I can send you actually the sources, but the two books that you can check out are Debunking Utopia, Exposing Nordic Socialism by Neman Sadadaji, Henry Ford's of Healthcare, like what the West can learn from the East. Both of them are very good models, are around like 100 to 200 pages each. I highly recommend Gunter actually reading them too, because then he can understand that my view actually helps people probably more, and moral and cultural factors are more important. But also is that I would recommend, there's the AMA, which I cited in my opening statement. There's Ehrenfield, I think it's 20, there's Nimitz 2015, 2016. Yeah, there's plenty of sources that demonstrate my case.
Okay. Could you please list them in the side chat of the stage, if possible? If you have the
Yeah,
links.
yeah, I have my, what's it called? My phone, but if I join with my phone, then I'll leave the stage.
Oh, all right. You could post them.
Wait,
You could send them in my DM later.
wait.
I'll
Actually,
post
let me
them
go
there.
to, can I send them in debate? Or here, I'll
You
send
could
them.
you could post them in maybe general.
Yeah, here, I think I can post them in general. Here.
All right.
So
Um,
All right, I sent 6 pictures.
All right, Potato Dough. Do you have any other questions?
Also, that could we please keep it a little bit more civil? Previously, Alec was a little bit aggressive. Like you're debating healthcare. You're not trying to fight. You're not trying to brawl. You're not Abraham Lincoln.
I think getting passionate's fine.
I think it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay to get passionate, but when it's like, when you're debating something that is a little bit more, this is kind of an advanced topic in my opinion, and it's not too basic. So getting passionate, it could be a little bit bad. And also, another thing I want to say is that Alec is using ethos to talk about his argument, using hypotheticals like the 2-year-old, that poor 2-year-old. And Connor keeps talking about economics, so you're not arguing on the same level, in my opinion. So could you please equalize that if possible, in some way?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all.
Okay.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you,
So
Potato
just to
Dough.
respond to that real quick, 2-year-olds get cancer. My only question was, what ought to be done in Connor's system with this 2-year-old? Does this 2-year-old get automatic access to care regardless of anybody's willingness and or ability to pay? My argument is yes. Connor's argument is, well, the parents will pay, to which I responded, what if the parents can't? Well, there are systems in place that will help the parents. So they do get guaranteed care, right, Connor? No, because some parents fall through the cracks. It's this weird... I don't think Connor wants 2-year-olds to die of cancer. That's not my argument. My argument is that you have twisted your brain in knots to convince yourself that this system, which allows 2-year-olds to die of cancer, is good. I don't like that.
Well, my response to that is that you say that I've convinced myself that allows 2-year-olds to die from cancer. Is that just because people do something or fulfill an obligation through different means does not mean necessarily that you have a positive right to something, which is your position.
Okay.
As I
All
mentioned, is
right.
that, for example, oh wait, here, this is a quick response, but like, if I say like a kid has a right to a father and a mother, that doesn't mean that the state just administers father and mothers
They quite
around to give
literally
it to
do.
them.
They quite literally do.
What?
That's what the foster care system is. That's what adoption programs are for.
Adoption things you apply on a website, and there's millions of people waiting for adoptions.
Yes.
And they're usually through the church. They're not through the state.
Okay, well, they could be through the state, and in some places they are. So yes, the
And
government
that
does
favors my
sometimes.
system.
The
That
government
favors
does
my system.
sometimes assign willing parents. This does. I mean, I will grant you this. My system relies
It
on
doesn't
the
force them,
idea
though.
that there are willing participants. But I
So
think
does
that there
mine.
are. Okay, I think that there are plenty of willing participants who will give 2-year-old cancer treatments if it's within their skill set to do so, just out of the kindness of their hearts.
Yeah, that's called. And I said is that we can have a system that extrinsically motivates people to do that, and that's what I'm saying is that charity is not mutually exclusive to my worldview.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we'll go ahead and bring up Aurelius Argenti. The invite is sent to you, Aurelius.
I know that guy.
Is that the ANCAP dude?
Yes.
Hello, can
Hello,
y'all hear me?
Aurelius. Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
State your question, who's it for, and then we'll get a follow up if needed. And yeah, go ahead.
I've got a little bit of a prelude. I think over the course of the conversation, Alec, you've been supporting the idea that people have an obligation to provide health care to those who need it. And Connor, you've kind of admitted that your system doesn't universally provide health care to people who aren't able to pay the market price for it. And I think the frustration has mostly come from Connor whenever this bullet was coming at you to bite it. Rather than biting the bullet and saying it doesn't universally provide it, you would instantly fire back the economic bullet that you want Alec to bite of his system doesn't allocate resources to provide it to everybody. But I'll say, Connor, you bit the bullet in the discussion. Good job for that. But accepting that people won't always be able to universally get healthcare when they can't afford the market price, are you willing to accept that moral reality? Are you saying that people don't have an obligation to provide care to those who can't afford the market price?
I would say that you do not have the obligation in the sense of the government requiring you to pay someone else's care for what's it called for certain things is that, and I don't think that demonstrates the universalized coverage. I would say that you can use the state to make it more accessible to people. Like, for example, like if you wanted to prevent people from stealing, if you wanted to prevent people from like murdering other people, sure. My position is entirely that the way that we do things is we want to make sure that people have successful families in their life and that the family unit is very influential of our even health habits and how we grow up. And I think that my system ultimately will help that more effectively and more pragmatically. When it comes to the ethical obligation, I don't think that we have an ethical obligation to provide a worse or suboptimal service to people.
And then to round it all out, Alec, would you accept that there are not always the resources to fulfill said obligation to provide health care to those who cannot afford it? And if so, would you say that the person who has not the resources to provide it really has an obligation to provide it?
They're always the resources. They've always been there. It's just been a matter of human innovation and working together in order to unlock those resources. So
sure, there are the potential resources, but there aren't always the actualized resources, yes?
not in the moment, sure. But the point is, okay, so if there aren't actually like enough resources, that's where you get into triage. Okay? And triage is an unfortunate reality that you must sometimes deal with. It comes up. Okay? So like, if you simply don't have the means in the specific scenario to get the 2-year-old the care they need and the time that they need it, there's not much you can do about that. The 2-year-old just unfortunately dies, But the point is to try to expand as the availability of these resources as much as possible, and all that Connor's economic system does is get in the way of that. You add an entire economic system, this bloat, to medicine, and I don't like that. It should be as simple as you need the care, there are people willing to give you the care, therefore you get the care.
All right, thank you very much. I think I'll leave that for Connor to argue. Hope you all have a good one.
All right, you as well.
Yep, you have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Aurelius. All right. Anything you guys want to talk about? Anything from that?
Yeah, I would just say that simply that a simplified system is not the best system, and that if you're going to argue for a constitutional or universalized right, is that in general, is that what my approach is that I think that if there's going to be a service to people, it should be a high quality service, and people should get that. And I think that doctors, physicians, nurses is that you can volunteer. I think volunteering is virtuous, but I think also is that I want people to be incentivized to do that, and we've seen that with physicians of why they go to big hospitals is because they get paid more and to do so. And as I said, people have their interests. There's nothing wrong with rewarding people for their interests in general.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Bam Bam XCI. Hello, Bam Bam.
My question's for Alec because
Mm-hmm.
you guys were just talking about resources, and my first question already got answered. But you said the resources will always be there, but what about the people? We see during times of recession where money isn't in the medical field, there are typically less medical students, and during, at least with the college enrollment for medical students, during the Great Depression and the First World War, the population to medical students never increased. If anything, it shrunk during the 1930s. And even during the 2005 recession, there were less medical students overall than the years prior.
At the end of the day,
Where would you
somebody.
get through?
At the end of the day, where you finished, I wasn't sure.
I was just making sure. I was just
Sure.
saying I was finished.
At the end of the day, somebody is going to give a shit enough about this 2-year-old in order to learn how to care for them. Like, that's the whole reason we have medicine to begin with. It's not because people thought, ooh, that they were rubbing their little hands together. Look, think about how much money we could make from this. No, healthcare exists because people got sick and other people wanted them to not be sick. It wasn't about money. Sure, man. I don't care. The point is that other people did not want those people to be sick, and therefore they learned medicine and how to cure it. This is how humanity has always worked.
The majority of medicine wasn't for a stranger. It was for somebody within one's own tribe, which would be direct family or people who live within your small, tight-knit
Okay.
community.
If you could snap your
same
Can I
time-
actually
finger.
respond to this?
Okay, here's
Can I respond
a
to this?
question. If you could snap your finger and cure the cancer of a random 2-year-old, would you do that?
If it was free, yeah, and it cost me no time or
Free.
money.
It
or
cost
effort,
you the
yeah.
energy. No, it cost you the calories of snapping your finger. Those are precious calories, sir.
That's
What are you
equivalently
talking
free.
about?
That
You're giving
snapping's like half a
freely
calorie.
of yourself for some stranger that you don't know? What?
So this is actually can I respond to this? Is that this is actually really interesting because the original hospitals is that you can even see in UPMC, it's United Presbyterian Medical Center, is that a lot of the hospitals were founded by Saint Basil the Great, Saint Fabiola, and a bunch of Christians who got together and created it via the church. It wasn't the state who did it; they did it out of their belief in God. So like it kind of still demonstrates my view is that if people are willing to do it anyway, is that then my charity argument follows through. Is that the people won't fall through the cracks because they'll do it anyway.
I will say this: I am a Christian, but I've also been into several other sects. A majority of the donations towards that kind of stuff comes from stuff like the Mormonism cult. They just donate it within themselves. They're only leading by a tiny bit compared to stuff like the Catholic Church and the normal Christian church. But again, the manpower question: we saw in the Great Recession and the Great Depression that people don't give a shit when it comes to that kind of stuff. If they can't feed their own, they won't save others.
I want you to understand, though, you just admitted that you would go out of your way to cure a 2-year-old's cancer. At
Yes,
some level.
I also donate 60% of my income to charity because I am a Christian.
Great. Okay. So you would...
But that's not because
then
if I
why
had
not,
no incentive to and I wasn't Christian, and I didn't believe it was of God, then I wouldn't do it.
Why do you both keep bringing up Christianity? That's fine. Do it for whatever
Because
reason
that's
you
why
want.
I do it. That's my reason.
If it's because of Christianity, that's great. Beautiful. Fine. My point is, why not give that money to some democratic structure that is designated the responsibility of divvying it out responsibly?
Because
Instead
I've seen
of a
how the
charity.
U.S. government has I've seen how the U.S. government has handled funds like that, and that is why we spend about $2.3 trillion in healthcare administration today.
Okay, how about
Also,
how about a Christian theocracy? What if it were a Christian theocracy? Would you trust them?
I don't trust the church.
You don't trust the church? Okay, I thought you were Christian, but never mind.
I am Christian. I follow Christ,
Okay.
not the church.
I'm going to
The
pretend
church
that
has
makes
been
sense.
shown that on an individual level, there are many churches that just take the money and run.
I'm going to pretend that makes sense.
I mean, when the pastor has a Bentley wrapped in gold,
All right.
Prosperity gospel.
prosperity cost.
Thank you, Bam Bam. Unless you have another question that you want to throw out there before you move down to the audience.
The question wasn't really answered too much because I was mostly asking about the resource of people, and it was just people will do it anyway.
Okay, my point. Okay, so your question was, what if there are not the resources available to cure that 2-year-old, right?
The manpower to
The
take care
manpower.
of the
So
2-year-old.
so there are not people with the skills and resources necessary in order to cure that 2-year-old.
Well, they also have to be willing to do it for free. That's what I'm talking about. With
You
the
just
recession.
admitted
When
you
the
would go out.
monetary input,
You
I
just
would go out
admitted.
of my way
Okay,
to
yes,
take
you
care of somebody
would.
when I have the abundance of the ability to.
Yes, those precious calories, right? You just told me that you would go out of your way, expend calories, which are your bodily resources, and hurt your finger a little bit. You might
When
hurt
I
your
have
finger. You don't know.
abundance, yes.
Like, but you'd go out of your way, rather than not doing anything at all, to cure that 2-year-old of your own goodwill and free virtue, right?
Yes, when I have abundance.
Okay.
Now, if my family were starving, no, that 2-year-old will die.
Oh, yes. Sometimes that happens. That's true.
Which is
Okay.
what I'm saying.
He just conceded.
Me?
Yeah, you just conceded the thing that you're trying to get me on a gotcha.
You guys are presupposing that there must be abundance
what
in
I'm
my
saying
system,
is-
or that there's no abundance in my system.
I'm not asking if there is or isn't. I'm asking what are you going to do in times where there isn't abundance?
You
With
triage.
people in the Pacific.
You triage. You see, okay, where are our resources? Where's our manpower? Who knows how to do what? Is anybody willing to learn how to do anything else? And you go from there. And you do, and you make what you make do. You do what you can. And if the 2-year-old dies, he or she dies, or they die. Like it doesn't matter, or it does matter, but like you can't do anything. You know, like you're asking me an impossible question. You're like, oh, by the grace of God, what
Well,
if
no,
like
I was specifically
sometimes the
asking
2-year-old
in
just
reference to the
dies.
statement. Yeah, I was asking specifically in the reference to the statement you made earlier and in the conversation with just you and Connor about people will do it out of the kindness heart regardless.
There are plenty
And I
of
was
people,
using
I'm sure.
the monetary situations with the Great Depression and the 2005 recession.
I am
that
simply
A
explaining
lot
how
of people
humanity
will not do it.
I'm simply explaining how humanity has always worked. Why medicine even exists in the first place. Because people decided that other people are sick and we want to do something about it.
The
So
church.
it's just kind of a ridiculous. Fine, man. It's just kind of a ridiculous
I wouldn't
question.
say it's just the church, but
Christians, sorry, my bad.
well, even before what we would consider modern Christianity or even Judeo religions, cavemen were taking care of each other.
Sure, but I'm saying is that Christians standardize the
I think Mace is trying to move
hospital
on.
system.
Yeah. Bam Bam, if you want to have like a longer discussion with either of these guys about this, hit me in the DMs and we could probably get something set up. But for now, thank you. I'm going to move you back to the audience. Next up, we are going to bring up Andy Box. Hello, Andy.
Hi. Able to hear me?
Thank you.
Indeed.
All right. I have a couple of questions for Connor, if that's okay.
Sure.
Let's go.
One of them was just
I'm going to run to the
earlier on
bathroom
that.
if that's okay.
Alrighty. One of them was earlier. You were talking about how like your charity would kind of, or like the charity system you would have, right? And I was kind of wondering how exactly that would apply to like elderly people, because elderly people, at least like how we have the systems now, they are kind of a net drain, but we still take care of them anyway. So I was just kind of wondering your idea on that.
Yeah, so I would have to look into more specific, but I can give you a general answer if that's okay.
That's fine.
But Yeah, so pretty much is that they have nursing homes and stuff like that, and they do have people who volunteer through these services and stuff. And I do have that a lot of nursing homes are like, I know there's other things like Menohaven, which are private enterprises, and they do get some form of finances through it. I think that there you can finance a system and you can even collaborate, as I said, with donations. Is that I think it's just more of a practical way of going through it, in my view, is that I think that the state coming along ultimately just will do that worse, if that makes sense.
Okay. The second question I have was kind of more about your sources. I was just kind of generally wondering where exactly you get them, and if you have like links or anything like that relating to them.
Yeah, I can send it then. It's just that I am restricted with because I have them on my phone and I have a whole thread in my other server about it, but I can
Okay,
send them all. Yeah.
that's fine. Those are my two questions then.
All right. You have a good day, man.
You too.
All right, thank you, Andy. All right, before I'm gonna wait till Alec gets back to pull anybody else up, unless anyone within this list that I posted inside chat has specifically a question for Connor. On God I Love Water does, and he's next up. Look at that. On
What's
God
up,
I Love
dude?
Water. Welcome.
So, Connor, question's obviously for you. When you look at the statistics, $4.9 trillion of medical bills are paid by insurance. When you look at donations, it's significantly less. It's in the tens of billions.
Yes.
My question to you is why are so many people having to rely on healthcare when we see that it's 4.9 trillion? It's levels of magnitude away from charity. Why are people having to pay for insurance when supposedly charity is going to be able to pick up most of the slack here? Because Alec's argument is that it should be through the state. Your argument is that it should be through private donors and the goodness of people's hearts. I'm asking, we just don't see that right now. How are we gonna? How would you suggest that be translated? When again, it's
Oh, okay.
orders of magnitude is different.
Yeah, so I think there's multiple layers to this argument. My argument was not that the state is, or sorry, that all healthcare funds are going to be funded via charity. My argument was that we have a healthcare system that makes it affordable to the majority of the population, and then the rest over reaches a point that can be covered by other things. But I also want to make clear is that healthcare costs in the US is that I think that demonstrates my claim that the state is very inefficient with its funds, where the US actually spends more on healthcare than a lot of developed countries via its state apparatus. And we see worse health outcomes even in the United States. As I think that my uh, position of we have extrinsic motivators such as private or physician-owned hospitals where we can administer it on a larger scale. But also, I think that we can have the intrinsic motivators such as wanting to help and care for people that cover up and clean up the cracks, I guess is what I would say.
And then a follow-up question to that is, assuming that what you say is true, and that we would have an ability for everyone to have their health care paid for in some way or another in your system, how would we pay for research and development? A lot of the profits that hospitals use go towards researching and developing new drugs or making current drugs better. Like insulin, back when it was first invented, is far worse than modern insulin. You can get old insulin; it's very cheap, but it's significantly worse quality than modern insulin. How do we fund the research and development for things like insulin under your system?
Yeah, I would say that there's multiple layers to that, and I'd have to look more into particularly the research stuff, so my answer isn't going to be the best. But pretty much is that insulin back then was usually calf insulin. It's that they would take calves and they would harvest their insulin. But even today is that what we see with even trademarking and like trademarks and copyright stuff is that it unfortunately leads to people making these drugs a lot overseas, and there's heavy regulations and stuff on them. But I think that ultimately the way that we get to research primarily is it just depends. Is that I think that I wouldn't, even if I said that the state gives money for research, I don't think that it would be like an absolute obligation to do that. I think it could actually be problematic where I know that some pharmaceutical companies will lobby, particularly to prevent studies from being published about their certain medications. So I would just say it ultimately depends for the research part, and I'd have to look into it to give you a better answer. I'm sorry.
Very good. All right. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for your time and have fun with the rest of this debate.
Thank you, Water. Next up, we're going to bring up Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, 你好. So I kind of want to ask the question, Alec, here. Like, I understand there is I understand there was this example of like you snap your finger and you cure a baby, right?
Yeah.
I would do that as well. You know, it would be basically free. There would be just some calories, but like nothing much for me. But like, I wanted to ask the question: how you make so a person goes through medical school, which is hard, which is really difficult to pass, and study all of that stuff only so they can cure a baby?
Plenty of people do that. They already do it. And
Yeah,
they
but
pay
like,
tons of money to do it.
yeah, they pay a lot of money on college, but like,
Yeah.
how do we but like, and but like, how do we make so more people do that? Because like, there will be a point in your system that we will have not many not many surgeons, not many anything like that. So we have to give them incentives for them to work, right? Or not really?
Sure, there can be incentives. I think that a great start would be making their programs free, don't you?
What do you mean by programs?
Like their their school programs is what I mean.
Yeah, we gotta
Educational
make it
system.
free.
Yeah,
For
make it
sure.
free because that's another barrier. Like we're so worried about not having the manpower. Well, you are like people. I don't know if Connor advocates for against or for free health or free education. I don't know. I have my guess, but that is yet another barrier by which you are keeping people for like people have to consider that now. They're like, well, yes, I want to cure 2-year-olds with cancer, but I just don't have the money for school. Make it free. Like, what are we doing? Like, do we not want 2-year-olds with cancer to get the care they need? Like, can we please just make it free? I think that's a good start.
You know, I think there's a problem. Oh, sorry, the other guy's asking a question, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I would say like, so like, there's this thing about like, let me see.
Mm-hmm.
It's because like there are many people who don't have the competence to like learn all of that biology stuff and all that stuff to turn to doctors. And like, how are they going to be able to cure patients if they like didn't even have a good formation in the first place because they didn't have any effort getting to the university?
I'm not saying there can't be any like barriers of entry. There should be. You should have a basic high school, like you should have a GED or a high school diploma, and then the college, the college can have their entry stipulations and requirements. Like they can say, listen, you got C's, and some people say C's to get degrees. You can go to Wesleyan, Oxford, Himalaya University, and Kansas, whatever, for free, and they'll take you. But then, like, if you try to, get into a more prestigious university, they might say, no, your grades aren't good enough. Like, we have a higher standard than that. And so, I think that, in my opinion, there should be ways to, like, make up for that, but at the same time, it's like, the barrier of entry shouldn't be financial is my point. That's the bottom line. Like a financial barrier of entry is very silly to me.
Yeah, I agree because like people who don't have the capacity but have the money can also get in.
Say that one more time. Sorry. I was distracted by that baby in the comments. Jesus Christ.
I was laughing at that too.
That was pretty funny.
Anyway, sorry.
Like what I'm saying is that like that's great because I agree with that because like there can be people who don't have like the the capacity to study all that shit, but like they have the money, so they can just do it, and just
Well, yeah, that's the
worsen
other
the
problem.
service.
Yeah, that's the other
Yeah.
problem is that. Yeah, what you're saying is feeding my point.
Yeah, I agree with your point because
Yeah.
because here in Brazil we also have the colleges which are free. Like you gotta do an exam. You have a name. There's a exam called a name, Exame Nacional do Ensino Médio. Basically, it is an exam for to get into college, into free colleges because we have public colleges over here. So it's a really nice way of people going to those colleges and all that stuff. But the problem is that most people who go to those colleges are from private school because private school provides a better education for the public school system.
Yes, and I think that's a problem for sure. But if you think about it, the private schools are only doing so much better because they have more funds, right? They have more money. So why not just take that money? Just take it and then put it in the public schools.
Because private schools are the minority, and also they are funded by the people who pay it. So should we instead of making the people pay for private school, should we make them pay for taxes and stuff?
Yes, every school should be public.
Okay.
All right, Lisa, do you have any more questions for either of these participants?
Yeah, I do actually.
All right, let's get one more, and then we'll get somebody else up here.
Okay. Connor.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm gonna ask a question now because I feel like you've been led aside here, but I want to ask questions to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, your system is it's completely private, right? Or is there any government intervention?
I think that ideally in my system is that it would be a transitionary period to my system. I think that with anything is that if I just was like, oh, I'm just going to sign off all these things without protocol in place, but the end goal is a private system with charity-based services as well. Yes.
I see. My ideal system would be I think there should be no. I think there should be free healthcare for emergencies, but like when someone is sick, when someone has got a flu, that's gotta be free. And you gotta prove you have that. But when it's not emergency, I think people should pay it, but subsidized by the government because and also there's this thing that people are kind of reckless when they're when they have free things, so they kind of smoke things and all that stuff. So I think there should be a warning to say, hey, we're not gonna waste resources with this because you yourself are making yourself sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that it. Can you restate what you said? Sorry, I blanked out. My bad.
Oh, don't worry. It's basically there are people who are let's say smoking. The people know it's gonna do bad for them, so they smoke, take drugs and all that stuff and get bad. And they know they can do that because they have free healthcare. And if they keep doing that, they're gonna waste a lot of resources on healthcare and all that stuff. And that will lead to less resources, which will probably be misused in those people instead of being used in people who are really sick and really should be treated.
Yeah, I think this is kind of gets into my point is that basically, as I said about the socio-cultural aspects, let's say that you covered all the care for melanoma in the United States. You just we're like, oh my gosh, melanoma is a really bad skin cancer. But let's say that we even expand that to some minor thing that can be treated with a $200 surgery that they freeze off like a little mole on your body. Is that ultimately, let's say that we just promise and cover it, is that I think that fundamentally you might see, because people are still incentivized regardless about money or resources in that view, is that if they know that they're going to be covered covered, is that maybe they don't go outside and wear sunscreen as much because they're like, well, it doesn't really matter as much anyway.
I personally love getting sunburn. It's my favorite. And going to the hospital because I have a horrible sunburn that I need to go to the hospital for and getting treatment for.
It's actually
that's my favorite.
Well, no, I never said that you loved it. I said that some people do respond to incentives, and
some
we
people
see that.
Love it. Got it. Some people do.
No, I never said that. That's what I'm talking about.
My bad. That's just what it sounded like to me.
Some people are careless, Yes, and that's why people have credit scores and stuff like that with loans, because people mismanage resources. That's just a fact of life. But pretty much, even still, is that Charlie Kirk even made the same argument that you did about emergency services. Is that, yeah, you can say about emergency services, like I brought up with like the CPR, BLS, and stuff like that, but that doesn't get you to his position of a universalized healthcare model. It's kind of just strategic, what's it called? Strategic branding for his view is that, oh my gosh, you believe that the kid with cancer should die? Oh my gosh, I think people
never said
love
that.
getting sunburned. Well, I'm vaguely generalizing the rhetoric or the ethos of your argument, but like, regardless, I think that we can talk about the culture aspect. We can talk about also if someone's like obese or smokes a lot or an alcoholic, is that why should I cover someone who deliberately made bad choices in their life and stuff like that whenever I have someone like my family that I have other obligations to?
Bro,
Is
they
that
should just
I
fucking
think
die.
that
They should just die.
I never said that.
Oh, well.
I literally said that my
They'll
system
magically
doesn't
live without
help someone.
healthcare then. My bad. Forgot.
Well, do you think people with bad choices, we should enable their bad choices? Like, do you think like someone who
No, they
is
should
obese,
die.
we should keep giving them food?
You're
Should we
right. They
keep
should
giving them
die.
food?
You're right. They should die.
No. Should someone like a 600-pound lifer keep getting food because you want to enable them?
No, give them no food. Starve them.
Give them no food?
Correct.
Do you
They
think
should
that
die.
people? Do you think that giving people more food in that circumstance, if it was guaranteed by the state, would be a good or bad thing?
When you say more food, do you mean like the minimum required to sustain them?
No, I'm talking. Well, no, I'm saying is that you want to provide health care, and my
Yes.
needs aren't the same as yours.
Okay, then they should just die, right?
No, what?
Okay, then what are you saying? Either they get healthcare
Can
and they're fine, or they don't get healthcare and they die, unless you're suggesting a magical world in which they don't get healthcare and somehow live. What if they need the healthcare?
so I'm still just trying to wonder what the answer to my question is that if your view is that pretty much that providing some form of care is like what we're supposed to do, like regardless of people's lifestyle choices, is that shouldn't we honor the lifestyle choice of like, let's say someone who's 600 pounds and just wants more food, like why can't we just keep giving that via the state?
Do they just like being 600 pounds?
Well, no, they just really like food.
Okay, then they have a disorder.
What makes it disordered?
Because they don't want to be 600 pounds.
Wait, so is it possible for me to not want to be 600 pounds and still want food but not be disordered?
But not be disordered? Not really, because the disorder is that you don't want to be 600 pounds, and yet you keep engaging in activities that cause you to continue to be 600 pounds. That's the disorder. There is a disorder between what you want your body to look like and your health to be versus the activities you are participating in to make that not the case.
Is it? Well, even still, I would disagree with that. Someone like might want to look different, but they might also want food. I think that generally speaking is that, I mean, I even eat a cookie
scale.
and like
it's on a scale.
A sliding scale. So it's like arbitrary of like where you kind of
no, it's
cut
a
it off.
A sliding scale is not arbitrary, Connor. That's not what that means.
Well, you have to make it arbitrary at some point. Like
Make
some
what
degree you're going to have
arbitrary?
to consider, you have to have some degree that is different in this hypothetical.
Make what arbitrary? What do you mean?
That what classifies as a disorder, but even still is that still they would still
Okay.
get treatment
For
that regardless.
Do you know what autism spectrum disorder means?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's still on a spectrum. I never said that.
Yes, a sliding scale, okay?
Yeah, and as I said, is that you still have to kind of draw some form of arbitrary line of
Sure.
this is. So yeah,
Sure.
so I'm right. Like it's arbitrary.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to bust your balls. Okay, so the arbitrarity is where we draw the line between this is, not like, what's the word I'm looking for? This is not desirable behavior, but it's not quite a disorder yet. Like me eating cookies when I want to have a six-pack, right? Versus I'm 600 pounds and I don't want to be 600 pounds, but I keep like shoveling food down my gullet.
Well, let's say like they want to, like they're like, you know what? I want to lose like 10 pounds, but I don't want to like get down like a bunch. But I really just like love the taste of like a quarter pounder and a Big Mac from McDonald's. Is that like, should we just keep providing them Big Macs and stuff like that via the state as a form of care to make them happier?
As a form of care? Can
Well,
you
yeah,
point
if
to me?
it's if
Can
we're
you point to me where we are giving people Big Macs as a form of care?
do you know the difference between a prescription and a description?
My question is, how are you going to stop them from procuring Big Macs?
What I'm saying is that you're saying that we provide people care via the state. So why don't
Yes,
we provide them the care that they want by the
because
state?
that's not care. If somebody asks for a cyanide pill, that's not care.
Okay. So pretty much is that we have another problem too, is that whenever you just say just help people or just care for them, is that we fundamentally disagree on what constitutes care, right?
Killing them is not care. I guess we disagree on that. Yes.
I didn't say that you should kill them. What the fuck?
Okay. When you say continue providing a 600-pound person with a Big Mac with Big Macs as care, you are saying, like, you're in this scenario, you're saying the care is basically to kill them
No, it's not to kill them. It makes them happier.
and
Makes them
slowly kill
happy that they
them.
got big. Well, does feeding your kid, like, they might not have that intent. Maybe they just like
Man,
really want to give them a Big Mac.
the point is, it's not care. I don't know why you're calling it care.
What makes
Where did we
what
get?
makes
How did we
it
get
not
there?
care?
What makes it not care? It's not making their health better. It's
Okay,
feeding an
so
addiction that they
better-
don't want. They don't want to be addicted to food. Nobody wants to be addicted to
Wait.
food, man.
But wait, is their mental health better if they get the Big Mac?
No,
What?
because
Who
what
are you to
happens?
say that?
Because probably not. Because what happens is they eat it and they go, "Oh my fucking god, I'm 600 pounds. Look at me, and I just deep throated a Big Mac. What the fuck is wrong with me?" That's how an eating disorder works. So no, it's not care, and it's not making their mental health better.
I just said that they want to lose like 10 pounds, but they don't want to like, they think they're like sexy for being like overweight. They have
Okay,
like that. Maybe they have
that's a
disorder for
different
that,
scenario.
but-
That's a different scenario, okay? There are plenty of people who are like 600 pounds and they think they're sexy. They may have an OnlyFans, okay?
Yeah.
Sure, that exists,
but
and
you should-
that's
y-
their
yeah,
right.
but we should provide. Yeah, so we should provide care to them, right? And keep
What do you
feeding
mean
them.
provide care? They're not asking for care. They like being 600
Well,
pounds.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that if they want, like, okay, so if they have a like their OnlyFans or whatever, and the state is required to provide them care, shouldn't we keep giving them Big Macs so they can make the
What do you
what's it
mean
called,
by
resources?
care? What do you mean by care?
Well, that's a good philosophical question. What do we mean by care?
I don't know.
I'm just
That
genuinely
is-
asking. Because, like, for example, is that if the state has a right, or sorry, state has an obligation to provide a right, and that someone just arbitrarily defines care however they want, why can't they just keep giving out the Big Mac?
If they don't want to get skinnier, it's not healthcare to keep giving them Big Macs any more than it would be healthcare to give a chain smoker more cigarettes. I don't see your point. That's not care. That's just feeding somebody's addiction. Okay? And if they're addicted to food and they like being 600 pounds and they like their addiction to food because they think that being 600 pounds is sexy, there's really not much you can do for that person. You just let them keep
Wait,
eating.
so would they have a right to get more cigarettes or get more
Yes.
food if it made them happier? So the government should provide it, right?
The government should provide it. It's available, and they can go get it.
No, the
I don't know
government
what you
should
mean.
provide it, right?
No, it's
So like the
available
government
to
should
them.
hand out cigarettes. They should hand out cigarettes to like or food to these people because they want it and it makes them happier.
It's available to them. They can simply go get it.
Do they have a right
What
to
stop-
it? Do they have
Okay.
a right to it?
How do we stop them from getting it?
No. Do they have a right to it or not? Yes or no?
Do they have a right to it? Yes, because they can go get it.
Okay, so the government should provide them cigarettes.
No, the government should not go knock on the person's door and say, "Here's a bucket of cigarettes." No, they shouldn't do that. What's your point,
Okay,
man?
So then they don't have a right to a form of care.
No, make it more difficult to get the cigarettes, as the government did. They did that.
Okay, so what I'm saying is my critique of your view is that when you say that healthcare is a human right, is that if there is it deemed, whether empirically, whether it's a value assessment of this helps their health, is the government as a positive right to fulfill that obligation would have the obligation to provide them the cigarettes. It's kind of
Okay.
really simple.
Okay,
is
I'm
that,
gonna
like,
pretend that makes sense.
is this what you do? Like you just like kind of like throw your hands up in the air and be like, don't make sense to me.
With people like you, yes.
With people like me
Yes.
who actually can argue.
You can think that. You've done a great
Well,
job. Good boy.
I mean, do you know what an
You
internal
win.
critique is?
I can see
I do
the
like
debate.
being called
You
a good
win.
boy. I do like
Would
being called
it
a good
make
boy.
you happy if I concede the debate right now? Would that make
It would
you
make me
happy?
actually epic. Yes.
I concede. You win. Good job.
Epic. W. Victory.
He's gonna add that plaque to his wall. All
yes,
right.
I am.
Indeed. All right, we have more
Next
questions,
up,
right?
we're gonna go ahead and bring up In Pursuit of Knowledge. So we're all in pursuit of knowledge. So maybe
His argument
maybe
is
this guy can help
ridiculous.
us.
Being
Hello.
fat is not a moral failing.
Hello.
Everyone deserves
Hi.
health care.
So,
Full stop.
just listening
Punishment
to
is a
that
terrible
whole last
incentive
part
for
was
change.
really telling. I had a simple question, and then I want to go into. We'll circle back, but with healthcare, seems somebody even posted a meme in the chat earlier. There's like the 3 little toggles: cheap, fast, and good, right? And the whole idea is that we have to pick 2. What 2 would you pick, Connor?
Cheap, fast, and good.
Yeah, healthcare being cheap, fast, and good. Which 2 can you pick, or do you want to pick? Because right now, nobody has figured out all 3. Correct? No one's figured out all 3.
Yeah, hypothetically.
So,
well, like, I would say my system fulfills all 3 better, but I understand your argument that like you'll never have a perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, like, sure, I would say that cheap in quality, but like for example, if someone had like a heart attack, is that you obviously need to have it faster rather than what's it called, something else. So like it depends on the condition.
Let's not talk about emergency care. Let's talk about with healthcare. This whole debate, let's not go into the immediate triage scenarios, because that's
well, like even with cancer,
we all talk about that. Let's talk about cancer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, with cancer is that it might be beneficial to have faster care and quality care, because like let's say that you give them a wrong dosage of a medication, it could harm them more. Chemotherapy and radiation
fast and good.
It depends on the condition.
No, we're talking about one condition right now. I know you like to. You're moving around a lot in this conversation. That's why I'm trying to make sure we put the parameters correctly here.
Because it's situational.
I understand, but when we're talking about cancer in this situation, which 2 would you pick? And it sounds like you said fast and good.
I would say that if it's a cancer that is metastasizing quickly, is that I would want something fast and good so they don't die.
Okay, and same question, Alec.
Sure, I think this is a good question. Sure, I think this is. Do you mean cancer, or do you just mean in general, like for all of them?
For this scenario, so Connor doesn't, backtrack to, try to put a whole diatribe thing. Let's just talk about cancer. What he talked about.
Well, for cancer, you would want it to be. Well, it would depend on the type of cancer, I guess, but I know what you're trying to ask. This is a very difficult question. I think it's a good one. For my money, so to speak, I guess I would go with cheap and good, because if it's not good, then the cancer is just going to keep coming back and getting worse. And if it's not cheap, then people simply can't get the care at all. You're putting a barrier of entry. So if it's not fast enough, some people are going to suffer as a result of that and possibly even die. But in my head, for this specific scenario, at the very least, as far as I understand cancer, usually the metastasis process takes a while. So are we going to lose some? Yes. Sometimes it travels very quickly, but overall, I think cheap and good are the 2 priorities in that specific scenario.
So we can agree, when we talk about healthcare, the most important aspect then is having good healthcare, right? Having like education, having good doctors, and that, right? So the main
quality
it depends.
Quality care.
It depends.
Fair enough.
I think in emergency care, the top priority is fast. I think that in care, in cases of things like, more complex situations like cancer or heart disease, sometimes good is better than fast. Like, it just depends on what you're talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to knock that out real quick.
Sure.
And I kind of want to go back, circle back to the really interesting point that Connor was making earlier with the last questions. You guys were talking about the obese person. It's very telling, Connor, to you, spending tax money, is that personal to you? Do you feel like they're taking money from you and giving it to the obese person and giving them the hamburger? Is that personal to you?
It could be. It could not be too. It depends.
Take your time.
Well, I just said it depends. Like, for example, like if you were, what's it called? I probably wouldn't take it as personally if you just gave like some random guy who was walking around like a like Big Mac or whatever. I think it would be like, okay, why? Maybe we should spend this somewhere differently. But I think it would be kind of more of an even personal thing if you have someone who's morbidly obese who is going to take advantage of a system, or someone who is deliberately taking advantage of a system. Is that I think that both views can simultaneously exist.
So it's about an emotional feeling for you when people take advantage of, let's say, government taxes or government handouts.
There's an emotional thing, but there's also an efficiency thing. Is that I don't think people are entitled to fundamentally break a system that could be where money could be put better elsewhere.
And you would know where to put that money?
Depending on the thing, probably.
You like the word "depends" a lot. I find that very interesting. You're kind of slimy, or sorry, I shouldn't say that. So I shouldn't say slimy. You're slippery. You're a very slippery person to try to answer questions. Alec, I'll ask the same kind of question to you. It seems like with progressives, it's very much about the overall. We're looking for like the best scenario for the most people. Is this something that's personal to you, where we have healthcare is personal for you for that obese person? You know, if they're taking advantage, does that feel personal to you?
Okay, so just to make sure I'm clear on the question. So we have a morbidly obese person who is not seeking to get better, presumably. They just want food. And so they are taking advantage of the system to procure as much food as possible for the least amount possible to continue feeding their addiction, correct?
Yes. Yeah, because that's what you guys were talking about earlier. Yeah.
And my tax dollars are going toward this person's addiction, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does it feel personal? I mean, when I consider, like, right now, it feels very personal that my tax dollars are going toward, like, wars that I don't support, right? And so, yeah, in some sense, you know, you are going to be giving some of my money feeding an addiction that I don't think that person should have. I don't think it's good for them. But, you know, when I consider, like how are we going to stop that person from eating that food? Like, how do we bar them from procuring that food? Like, we could maybe set up some hurdles, you know, like if I don't know even how that would work with food, though. Like with things like drugs, like I've argued before, like legalize all drugs and just set up enough hurdles like we do with cigarettes in order to make it more difficult to get those drugs. I think that in theory, you could set up some kind of hurdle system through which they can get the food through more difficult means. I think that would be reasonable. Because at the end of the day, like we all agree, what they're doing is not healthy for them. But also, they have a right to be that big if they want to. You know, we have the resources available for them to do that. And as long as nobody else is going hungry, you know, like if they're 600 pounds and feasting on like 30 pizzas a day, and then you have little 6-year-old Timmy sitting outside the house who's skin and bones, you know, like there's something's got to give there. But we don't have that really. Like we have an excess of food. So at the end of the day, is it personal to me? Yeah, I wish that like they would not use that money to feed their addiction, but there's so many other things that I have to worry about first before that becomes like that's toward the bottom of my list of concerns, basically.
I did want to say I do agree in the sense of I don't support a lot of the wars overseas too. So Alec and I do agree there. I don't like all the bloodshed there, but
okay.
Pretty much, I did also want to say that whenever it comes to the person who is in this situation or has cigarettes, I think it can be a form of, I think a lot of these situations, the reason I brought it up is because I think it can be a form of abuse. Is that if I was like, say the husband of my wife and she was like 600 pounds and I kept feeding her, I think that could actually be a form of abuse by enabling an addiction potentially. And my point with that situation is that I think like even whenever we have laws, for example, like if you go to a bar, is that they have to cut you off after a certain amount of drinks because the danger you can pose to others or yourself. So I would,
No, it's
that's
the
why.
liability to the bar. No, you're wrong about that. You're talking about the
What?
liability to the bar. Bartenders they stop serving drinks because they can be held liable for the actions of a drunk driver, right? Like if there's a
So the harm
person
to
at a
other
bar.
people. So the harm to other people.
Well, I understand. No, you're talking about you misplaced who is being liable, who's liable there. You're talking about the drunk person themselves is going to be held liable. No, I'm talking about the bartender who serves drinks to that drunk person will be held liable, right?
Yeah, they will. Yeah, and what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that because they're an enabler of their actions.
Okay, so you're saying that we should have state mandated fitness checks on obese people and not enable them to get
No,
food
it
or
as I said,
cigarettes. We could talk about cigarettes as well.
I said that greatly depends, and I understand the nuance to that. But like what I'm saying is that that I mean that gets into more of like I would even argue like euthanasia territory, where pretty much is that do people have like self-harm and stuff like that? Like if you went to a shooting range, is that a lot of people unfortunately commit I'm not sure of the stream, but they unalive themselves at shooting ranges and stuff. And if someone went to a shooting range and the guy just like provides them like a gun to do that, I think that's crazy. But as I mentioned with the alcohol, is that you're providing them alcohol to the point where they reach a point where they could be drunk and they could drink and drive, which harms other people. But even like if they reached a point where like they might cut themselves or something like that, like I think that could also be.
So you agree that the state should have limits there and should step in, right? Not just like churches or different obligations for other people. Because from what I've been listening to, you basically say the state shouldn't be a part of people's lives for the most part, and that it gets filled in with the church, right?
I said that there's the church for the leftovers, but there's also I went on about the private owned or the CEO owned hospital. Sorry, the physician owned hospitals that with a cross subsidiary model. Is that there's both that work in synchrony.
Those are
with each
state.
other.
You're not talking about the state. You're just talking about
It's not the state,
privately
no.
owned.
It's
Yeah,
not the state, no.
so they're both private, church and privately owned. The
Are
state is
churches
not involved.
Well, the state isn't involved, no, but are churches considered?
Churches are not. Yeah, churches aren't state entities.
Well, no,
I'm in America. Where I don't know where you are, but that's.
Well, no, I didn't know if they were classified as nonprofits or what they were.
Nonprofits is state owned to you? Is that what you mean?
No, there's different models of organization.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not quite sure where you're.
Because, like, for example, like a joint.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let me explain.
Join
it to
the
you
club,
then,
brother.
Because
yeah.
they don't understand economics. I mean, that makes sense for socialists.
You haven't explained economics yet. The only thing you've explained, and I've been listening for about an hour and a half, is that you're talking about how churches used to create hospitals because the state wasn't there. Of course, you're not even talking about how the nation state of today wasn't really is a new fabrication in human history. So that's a whole non sequitur. I don't even know why you were talking about that.
Wait,
you
what?
talked about
you mean
how
new public management in the 1970s? Did you listen?
Yes,
to my
exactly.
opening?
Yes, that's brand new system that we've only created because we had back into the medieval age, talking about, what's funny about this? You're using the exact same arguments that Marx uses when he talks about how communism used to be from the ground up, the primitive communist.
There is no such
his
thing
whole
as a
his whole
stateless,
theory,
classless society.
I understand that, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Marx.
That's what communism is.
Marxist history. Do you know? You don't know about that. That's fine. But
Marx
it's been
and
interesting
Engel,
listening to you because
George
you
Sorel,
don't ever have your favorite word is "it depends." You never nail down anything, and it's just
I do.
Which
shifting
just to defend
sands.
Connor for a
Alright.
minute, I think that's fine, but you still have to answer like the question,
I do answer.
It's frustrating.
the question.
It's been frustrating.
It's an
Connor.
answer you don't
Anyway.
want. That's the
Okay.
difference.
No.
Alright.
The
Okay,
thing
I
is,
believe
I
you.
agree with Connor for the most part, but it's.
I believe you
You
think
want to
that.
get a last little question, little wrap up?
No. Yeah, no.
we'll get
I
somebody
mean,
else in.
I know I'm pressing him too much. I don't. I don't mean
But
to be.
just-
I'm a bit of an asshole, so I understand that.
Real quick, IPOC.
Thank you for.
I know I
Go ahead.
had you IPOC. Can I call you that in pursuit of knowledge?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I know that I had you blocked. I'm sorry for what transpired between us. I was a bit of a turd.
No, you
so
good, dude.
if you ever want to try
Bro.
to,
Yeah, no, you know what's funny? We met each other. Well, sorry, we didn't actually meet, but I respected that you didn't want to talk to me when at the canvassing event for Progressive Victory over in Cincinnati. And we actually sat down right next to each other. And I was like, oh, wait,
Really?
he blocked me. I'm not going to say anything.
I didn't even know. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
sucks.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. But
Okay,
you're
well,
good.
if you ever want to chat, hit me up.
Yeah, deal.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, appreciate. Bye.
Take care.
Glad to have you. Anything you guys want to say on that before I bring up the next person?
Yeah, I would just say that I think people are misunderstanding my view that basically all of the 14 trillion will be provided by the church. I literally deliberately said is that there is a private, aka like the physicians having more private practices and stuff like that. There's that aspect, but there's also the church aspect. They both work together. Like it's not like that's my view. It's not like just the church or anything. I'm just saying that whenever we talk about the very less well off, is that historically speaking, that they were provided by historical institutions.
Okay.
Good. All right. Next up, we are gonna bring up, oh Lord, the ferocious fapper.
What a name.
Interesting name.
All right.
Hello there.
Hello, ferocious
General
Fapper.
Kenobi.
I can't even call you just like one of those names because they're all kind of just suggestive. But
FF.
who's your question for? What's your question?
Well, you could just call me Fapper.
Yeah, just
Got
call
it.
me Fapper.
It's what I'm used to.
Okay.
Now, Alec, I want to dig up that 2-year-old cancer kid snap argument you made earlier.
hmm
Can you explain what you meant in further detail?
Well, yeah, if there's a 2-year-old with cancer, they get treatment. Period. Doesn't matter if they can pay.
Like
doesn't
magic?
matter. Like magic? No, they're like if there are people with the means to treat them, then I just think that those people should, like, if they're doctors, they've already taken an oath to treat people with the best care they're able to provide by virtue of being a doctor, right? And taking that oath, you've basically signed a contract that you are going to care for patients. What do you want?
I mean,
Sorry, it's my
it
cat.
sounds like they're slaves to their job, the way you
Cat
explain
argument.
it.
Okay, are firefighters slaves?
Oh no, are they?
They're volunteers.
What do you mean? Volunteers? Wait, hold on. People just volunteer to go put out fires? That's crazy.
Yeah, my friend is in Virginia and he's a volunteer firefighter.
Wow. It's almost like people will just sign up to do good things sometimes.
Do you think people would do them more if you incentivize them?
Yes. That's why firefighters get paid. But there are still volunteer firefighters.
Yeah. Do you think everyone volunteers to be a firefighter?
No, but enough people do that fires get put out, right? For the most part.
What if there isn't enough volunteers?
Okay, well then...
So that's why you incentivize them.
Okay, well then you have some kind of council meeting where you say there aren't enough firefighters and people's houses are catching on fire and nobody's going over there to help. So how do we incentivize this? And then you figure out a solution.
I.e. tax funded.
Possibly.
AKA involuntary.
Involuntary? What are you talking about? What if your house catches
Taxes
fire?
aren't-
Do you want
taxes
somebody to
aren't
be there?
voluntary.
Do you like living in a society where if and when your house catches fire, somebody will show up to put it out? Guaranteed.
Bit of a side tangent.
No, it's not.
I disagree.
Okay, my apologies. What would you like to ask or talk about if that's a side tangent? I don't know how that's a side tangent, but apparently it is. So
I just want to say taxes are
what's
not
next?
voluntary.
Huh?
Are taxes voluntary?
Are taxes voluntary? You live in a society, yes. Like by living here, you are paying our taxes. Like that's the contract you've signed by living here. Go live somewhere else and
So
pay
if
their
I
taxes.
don't pay taxes, there's not going to be a problem.
If you don't pay taxes, well, you live on this land. The contract you signed by living on the land owned and operated by the United States government is that you pay your taxes. That's what it costs
I
to
don't
live
ever
here.
remember
It's like
signing
rent.
a contract about that.
Then move out. It's the United States government land, not yours.
So as long as I'm on the land, I'm forced to pay taxes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not voluntary.
The land. Go live on an island in Canada. Go buy a $500,000 island north of Canada and go live there. You can do that.
Why can't I just stay here and not pay taxes?
Honestly,
Because
I'm not
this
gonna
is
lie. I would
Mhm.
be really worried if people started buying islands right after the Epstein files were leaked. I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's. I mean,
we could, at least Alec
can
and I
talk about
agree,
that.
pedos are bad.
We can talk about that, but my point is, I'm assuming that the ferocious fapper here, the name I don't know, but I'm assuming that he's not a bad enough person that he'd become Epstein to Electric Boogaloo. So my
No,
point
I don't
is,
either.
if you want to not pay the United States taxes, go live somewhere where you are not forced to pay the United States taxes. You can just do that.
Why can't I just be in the U.S. and not pay taxes?
Because it's not your land. It's not yours.
Okay, who is it?
The
Who is
United
it?
States government, as democratically elected by the people of the United States. It's our land, comrade.
So I'm being forced.
So if you don't like the taxes, go live on your own private island with no water, no electricity, no airports, no roads, nothing. You can build it from ground up and have your own personal Eden. Go do it. Leave the rest of us in civilized society alone. We will pay our taxes, and we will have firefighters show up when our house catches fire. Which is more than I can say for you if you go live on a private island.
Let me get this straight. Taxes are voluntary, but I have to fuck off and live out in the wilderness if I don't want to pay it.
Let me try this again. This land is not yours. It's not yours.
Says who?
Go take it up with the United States government. See what they have to say about it. Start your own country in
the
Ohio.
local mafia.
Cut out your own little.
English
Cut out your
language.
own little piece of Ohio. Cut off like the corner of Ohio, and start Fapperland. Okay. And in Fapperland, there are no taxes. And see what the United States government thinks of that.
Frame.
See what the United States government thinks of that.
Are there any real difference between a mob and a government? Or
In some
that's
ways,
a
they're
loaded
very
question.
similar.
Let me rephrase. No. I'm rephrasing. That was a
Sure.
loaded question. What's the difference between taxes and protection money?
In some ways, they're very similar. That's true. I would say that the difference is a mob controls by force, which a government can do. They can very much act like a mob. And in some ways, our government does. Our government takes our tax money, and rather than giving it back to us because we live here, and that, like, the deal, quote unquote, is that we pay the taxes go to pay the people who provide for us, but then they provide for us. But right now what's happening is they're taking a lot of those taxes and sending it overseas for wars and shit that we don't like. So in many ways, our government does act like a mob. That's true. And they have the control over the land and the biggest guns to maintain that control, and we can't really go anywhere else. So in some ways, you're right. The government does act like a mob. But on paper, at least, the government is democratically elected. So if we want somebody who's going to be less of a mob boss, we can simply vote one in.
Isn't democracy anything but organized mob rule by the majority?
Is this guy an ANCAP?
Okay, would you prefer organized mob rule by the minority?
That was not the answer to my question.
Rephrase your question. I want to make sure I understand it properly.
Is democracy anything but organized majority rule?
Organized majority rule. Is it anything but that? I mean, that's a pretty okay description of it, I guess. Organized majority rule. It's fine.
If
We
we're
can go with
both
that.
agreeing on that, that means the minority gets crap to say.
No, they have their say. I'm in the minority right now. I'm a communist. Okay? Go ask how many people are communists in the United States of America, and caps for that matter. There aren't very many of us.
Go ask how many people
Okay?
there are ANCAPs.
So go
number.
ask how many there are. Okay? So I am part of the minority, and yet I am advocating for a democratic system where I know I can lose, because it's my job and the job of everybody who believes the same thing that I do to convince as many people as possible that my system is better. And if I can do that, then the majority comes to my side, and then I have power. Got it?
If that's the case, why can't it be 100% voluntary? No taxpayer funding at all.
Because we need, right now, first of all, I don't like money. So in my system, there'd be no taxes because there'd be no money. Second of all, as long as we have money, taxes exist to keep the economy flowing and to make sure that people who need services and extra money because they're being exploited to fucking back by their betters, have that money to keep the economy circulating. Okay? And on top of that, we pay for roads, we pay for libraries, we pay for fire departments. Because I like having people show up when my... Restate your question, and I'll see if I can succinctly provide an answer.
With the way you were saying it, couldn't you just get it all done via voluntary donations and the like, instead of making it tax funded?
Taxes are voluntary donations to some extent. You live here on land that's not yours.
I can't say no without the IRS getting on to me, or
Okay,
by your example,
let me ask you this.
Needing to get out.
Do I voluntarily...
There are consequences to not paying taxes, i.e. they're not voluntary.
Do I voluntarily pay rent for my apartment right now?
I think that's a very loaded question.
My apologies. I retract the question. What else would you like to discuss?
I mean, I'm still kind of waiting for an answer.
That was part of my answer. You don't like that question, though.
I find it funny that you always answer my questions with another question.
Okay. Yes, in some sense, I voluntarily pay to live in my apartment. Month to month, I pay rent. Because this apartment isn't mine. It's owned by somebody above me who can kick me out at a moment's notice if they want to. Basically, there are laws that protect me, but at the end of the day, it's not my apartment, and therefore I have to pay to live here. And in exchange, I get services, right? I don't think it's quite balanced because there's still that level of power over me, but in exchange, I get services. So, like, I get my window fixed, for instance, or I get my sink fixed, or... You know, like, they also mow the lawns around this place. I don't have to worry about that. There are conveniences that I enjoy as a result of paying to live in an apartment. Okay? And I think that, you know, that's fine to some extent, right? If I want those services, I should have to, you know, pay something for that, right? So, and if I don't pay, they can kick me out. They can say, well, you don't get our services anymore. Go fuck off and live somewhere else.
So in that analogy, the U.S. government owns all land within their borders.
Like I said, go start Fapperland in the corner of Ohio and see where that gets you. Okay? With your own laws.
So, no difference from a mob that has claimed the territory.
I've already told you, the U.S. government does act very mob-like in some circumstances, like when they use our tax money to pay for wars that we don't want. Yes, they do that. But at least on paper, there is some kind of democracy in place where I at least have a semblance of some say over that.
I hope we don't disagree on if protection money from a mob is voluntary or not.
Protection money from a mob? Okay, so whether or not it's voluntary can be a complicated matter. Because if you want to live in an area that is run and operated by a mob, the trade-off is they protect you and you pay your monthly fee, right? That's kind of what the United States government does. That's why I didn't deny that they are in some circumstances a mob. Okay, that's true. But again, they're a democratically elected mob. Imagine if, like, the Italian mob, who's the guy that they arrested for tax fraud? I don't remember. He was the mob boss.
Either way, but what happens when I don't pay protection money?
Well, you know, the mob comes and kicks the shit out of you. Or they can kick you out. They can say you don't get our protection anymore.
And what happens if I don't pay my taxes? And don't fuck off?
Well, the government can come and arrest you.
Yeah. And if I resist, they're also gonna beat me up.
Okay, let me try this again. It's their land. It's not yours. Go live on an
voluntary
island.
Is involuntary.
Like you can choose to not live here. The rest of us like having the fire department show up when our houses catch fire. If that's not worth it to you, go live in Fapperland.
Okay, show me a piece of dirt on this earth that isn't already claimed.
It's a good point. Go buy an island. Figure it out.
So the world is conquered by mobs, i.e. governments, and yep. I have the voluntary freedom to choose which master I'm to serve under.
Basically.
If that is your idea of voluntary, we have very different definitions of it.
It's as voluntary as it gets under a capitalist organization of the economy. This is why I don't like money.
Is human
greed
I can go over
why that
didn't exist before money.
You both talked at once.
Yeah, I just think that blaming it all on capitalism or money is really dumb whenever the Soviet Union literally invaded try to get uranium from mines in the Congo, or pretty much the idea that before money was invented, humans did not try to steal resources or try to like, what's it called? Do immoral things beforehand or try to get power over their community.
I never made that
Actually,
claim.
I want to ask you something, Alec.
Mm-hmm.
Said you don't like money.
Correct.
So what's your preferred alternative?
No money? What do you mean?
Well, how do you exchange goods?
I have a crochet plushie. You have something that you made, and we trade.
So barter economy.
How do you exchange goods in your own house between like family members?
Is that a real question?
I think so. Did I stutter?
Okay.
Meanwhile, people give each other money for Christmas presents.
Okay.
Like I'm also
but in
curious.
a world where money
like,
doesn't exist, you wouldn't give money as a Christmas present, would you? You'd get something else or make something else.
Well, the thing is that like I don't see the argument against money. I mean, this is kind of not about healthcare, but like, for example, with money, I have what's it called? I can take out loans, I can get more time to pay them off and stuff. Like that's also with economies of scale. Like if I give you my house, is that I'm not going to have somewhere to live, but if I went to mortgage or something along those lines, like I could pay that off over time with things I don't have now. Is that it increases economic growth to have money?
Well, that's the neat part. There's no loans either in my system.
Well,
you just get what
and
you
in my
need.
system is that things grow faster. Like that's why like even Europe, like a lot of the civilized
I disagree.
societies back then, if we look at like, for example, Han China, like Cradle of Civilization, or like even I think I'm not too sure about Mesopotamia, but like even medieval Europe, whenever they had money, money allowed for things to come in through ports, they allowed to trade, barter, like they could do all of that. And it was easier with money.
Okay, money. Okay, is it so? What's the economy like then in your house? Like just in your house?
I've given my, what's it called? I've given my family money to go buy lunch.
You just gave it to them? What they do in return?
What's it? Well, they made me a sandwich.
They made you a sandwich?
Yeah.
So basically, they were a sandwich maker for a day, and you paid them a wage to make you a sandwich.
I mean, it depends on the situation, but like, there's been times whenever I've paid like my brother does cars, and I've paid him to do my car.
Okay.
Because I think he gives a good service, and I.
Okay. What if your car were like irrevocably busted, or not irrevocably, they were badly busted to the point that you couldn't drive it, and you did not have the money to pay to get it fixed? Would your brother be kind enough to come over and fix it for you so that you can get around?
My brother doesn't know how to fix cars, but.
Wait, you just said your brother fixed your car.
No, he does like detailing. My bad. Let me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No,
let's okay, but can you imagine a world where a brother would do that for you?
Like that he like fixes my car
for no payment. He just does it because he knows how.
For no payment, I think you're gonna get mad at me, but like if it was something small, probably. But like if it was something larger, he would probably ask for some compensation because like, for example, I even know with detailing, like my brother, he will charge more if he's used more product, which isn't sustainable for his business.
So let's say it's something larger. Your brother says, yeah, I can fix that for you. I just, that's going to take some time. Just understand that. It's going to take time and effort. And then your response is, okay, I understand. I don't have a whole lot on me right now. I don't have like things to give you in exchange. But I will once my car's fixed and I can get around and go purchase things or go do things or whatever. And then at some point, if you need something in return, I can try to give that back to you, right? Like you both just trust each other enough to make that exchange, even though you don't have anything to procure in the moment.
If you're saying like, to clarify, if
what
you're
I'm
saying
is what I just
favors,
said.
Well, I need to clarify your position. Is that basically, if you're saying that people do favors for each other, like if my brother, like, let's say that my brother comes over and details my car and then I do a favor for him. Sure, but as I said, is that doesn't mean that I might get paid within that dynamic.
It's not about getting paid. It's about he does a favor for you, you do a favor for him. He scratches your back, you scratch his. It's a mutual relationship. And I'm saying all of humanity could have this mutual relationship with each other. We could, if we all decided to do it tomorrow and just act like we're all brothers, sisters, and others and
do you think that brothers and sisters have conflicting, like, this is the thing is that I think that your view ultimately is just a an idealism, or like it's just idealistic in the sense
I
of
think
like,
yours is
oh yeah, well
doomerism.
help. Mine's not doomerism. Is that
Okay.
pretty much?
Mine's not
Let me explain
idealism.
this. Well, here's why it's idealism. Is that it presupposes that people don't have conflicting interests. Like for example, my brother, like I hate feet. Like I literally hate feet. Like it's just gross, bro. Like you would have to pay
Cringe.
me to
Feet are
like.
in.
Oh, we can have a feet debate, bro. But like
Indeed.
basically, feet like disgust me,
For
and
now.
you would have to.
That's how it starts.
Yeah. It's okay. But you would have to pay me if like you
We'll
would
see you in
want
5
me to give
years.
like if you wanted to make me massage my brother's feet, you would have to pay me a good sum to do that.
Okay. So, but why? But why would your brother want you to massage his feet? That seems kind of odd.
Well, brother support. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's your view.
Not literally. It's a figure of speech, brother. Like, okay,
Well,
if
you
you
massage
need,
my feet, I
okay,
massage.
okay, your brother comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I just really need my feet massaged." Right? This is the scenario we're going with.
Okay.
Okay. So, what's your response?
No.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you imagine your brother would say? Okay, or I'm gonna stick a gun up to your head and make you, or like, what's the
knowing
next
my
step?
brother, he'd probably be like, bro, like probably just like my brother isn't too into feet, but maybe that's a genetic thing. But I would say that if he wanted me to, he would probably be like, oh, okay, but if I gave you so and so, like if I gave you $20, would you massage my feet? And I might be like, you know,
$20 is
maybe.
$20.
Yeah, $20 is $20. But
Okay, so then there are
yeah,
circumstances. There are things he could do for you. If he, for some reason, wants a foot massage specifically from his brother Connor, who doesn't like feet and therefore probably wouldn't give a good foot massage anyway, but it's got to be you, okay, for some reason, if this is what we're going with, and then there are things that you would be willing to do in return for that, then I guess you have a fair exchange there. What's the problem?
Well, yeah, and what I'm saying is that, like, my foot argument is rock solid. No, but, like,
I'm
at
rock
the end
solid,
of the day,
but anyway.
oh, okay. But anyway, pretty much is that, in my view, is that even still, is that that's still an incentive to do things. And I think that you can have whatever service, like people get tired, people have other things they have to attend to. And I think that in a system with money, you can just incentivize those services. It does more good.
But I don't
More
buy
toes get massaged, bro. More
I don't buy it.
toes.
I don't buy it. There are people. Have you ever gotten a massage? They love their jobs.
Masseuse massage me.
Yeah, I've met masseuses who are very like massaging. Okay, since we're talking about it, a massage is a spiritual experience as much as a physical one. Like it's very. I'm not kidding. It is. It's very intimate. You know, your masseuse is. Your masseuse is all over your fucking body. Like she's literally just touching every inch of you besides certain parts, and like kneading the tension out of your muscles. She is giving you physical. It's a form of physical therapy, and there is an intimate relationship between the masseuse and the person being massaged.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, I
and
think
they enjoy that
um,
process. It's a bonding experience in some cases.
I mean, even when I was, maybe this is more of my personal life, but when I was like, usually the people who would provide me a massage would be like my girlfriend. But
Yeah,
like,
so you get
that's
it.
what. Well, yeah, what I'm saying though is that like my relationship with my girlfriend isn't the same as like some random person. And I guarantee you is that if I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, you know what? We'll go out and we'll get freaking ice cream. I'll buy you ice cream and stuff if you give me a massage. Like a little
Okay.
playful too. I think it would be better.
Okay. She gives you a massage, you procure ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Deal.
Yeah, I buy stuff with my money.
Okay, but let's just say that all you had to do was go out to the ice cream place and get like let's say that you already have ice cream in your freezer, for instance. And you're like, okay, well, I know that we're like both here laying in bed. How about after we're done, I go make you a bowl of ice cream and I bring it up here. Sound good? You can chill out, turn on whatever you want on the TV. I'll go grab you a bowl of ice cream from the freezer, bring it up here. That way you don't have to traverse all the way down the stairs.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen with an intimate relationship. Yeah.
No money involved.
Sure, but
maybe she
I mean,
even
if we're
bought the
gonna
ice
get,
cream. You're just offering to
if
go
we're gonna
get it.
if we're gonna get into money though, and talking about modern dating, I don't think that would favor your view though.
What do you mean?
Do you think that people in general date like, or even marry people like, they use money as a gauge of who they marry?
Some people certainly do. I think this is a point against money, though. I don't think that should be the way that it's done.
Do you think that women, or even, I'll just use women for example, but do you think that they're gravitated towards more successful men?
Yeah, I mean, that's a general trend, sure.
Is that intrinsic to money, or is that intrinsic to being, what's it
That's
called?
intrinsic to power. That's intrinsic to power. Okay? And money is power in our society. And so what happens is we have our gender norms. The man must be powerful. And in order to be powerful in our current society, there was a time and place where you were powerful if you had the biggest bat to bonk people over the head with and the biggest muscles to do so. Ooga booga, okay? That was when you were the most powerful. Now, you're the most powerful if you have the most money to shill on pretty much anything you want in order to treat your woman, or buy a nice fancy car, or live in a big house for your kids, your 2.5 kids and a dog, right? Like, that's what power is today.
But there will always be power conflicts, right then?
In some ways, sure. But like I would
for
prefer
example,
those,
like,
okay, so like I would like those power conflicts
interrupted.
to not be as, it's fine. I would like those power conflicts to not be as like life or death. You know, like let's say that like you're a really good MMA fighter and like that kind of power is strictly competitive. You know, it's a sport that you do. It's for fun. And that can also be attractive. Maybe you're like really attracted to Conor McGregor. I know he's a terrible person, but just bear with me. Like Conor McGregor is an attractive guy because of how fucking powerful he is in the ring. You know, he knows how to fight, and that's attractive to some people. It's power. It's not money.
But as I said, is that I wouldn't see why that would be an argument against money necessarily, because I think that just solidifies that there will always be class in a society. There will always be people above and people below. There's always hierarchy.
See, this is why I called you Doomer, because no, it's not a necessity. You just think that it is because you have a small brain. Expand your mind.
Do you think that some people genetically have bigger brains than others?
In smaller or bigger in what sense? I'm sure there are some people who are like naturally less inclined to have intelligence in certain areas than others.
Sure. So there will always be a disparity between us.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily. Okay, there's a disparity. Let's go back to my patient, right? But there's a power dynamic between me and my patient. I have, if the parents are out of the room, I have all the power in the world right now with this patient, and there is not a thing you can do about it, right? Like that is as powerful as it gets. I have complete dominion over this guy. Do I exploit him? No, I don't, because I'm a nurse and I took an oath to take care of him. So I could make just as much money sitting on my ass, playing on the computer, which I do 90% of the time anyway. But the other 10% of the time, I'm giving him a bath. I'm shaving him. I'm changing him. I'm rolling him. I'm making sure that, I'm making sure he's comfortable. I'm doing things that I don't have to do for him because I can't stand, and when his heart rate goes up, that means he's uncomfortable. And sometimes there's nothing I can do about it. And I hate that. I sit there and I listen to his heart rate go up to 110, 120, and there's nothing I can do about it. He just is uncomfortable right now. And no matter what I do, he just won't be. And that sucks.
Yeah, but that's still like, as I said, is that a quadriplegic or someone who's paralyzed will never be a marathon runner. Like I hate to break that to you, there will always be class. It's fundamental to existence.
No, that doesn't mean that I'm in a different class than he is.
What is class? Just like socioeconomic status?
Okay, well, what do you mean by class?
I would just say a disparity between two different groups. Like, for example, like when I say like I'm higher class, like you brought up power, but then money is power. Like if I am more physically fit, like technically I have more power over the one below me. It's just hierarchy.
Fine. If you want to call it class dynamics, fine. We can speak in terms of class dynamics. So he's in a lower class than me as a result of being quadriplegic nonverbal and needing a trach and a vent, right?
Well, yeah, he would be in a lower class also because like if you go off of just how much you financially make, like he would make probably less than you.
Okay, then I believe that the higher class, me, has a responsibility toward the lower class, them, because otherwise he would die.
Does maybe not in this example, but is there an example where someone in a lower class might have an obligation to someone in a higher class?
Give me one. I can't think of one.
Could someone, like, let's say a child, have an obligation to listen to their parents?
Well, what are you going to do if they don't?
I don't know, put them on timeout.
Okay. So yeah,
So, like,
sure. I guess that's possible. Sure.
So like there is dynamics where
like
someone from a
timeout-
lower class does.
But to some extent, timeout also mandates that the child does at some point listen to the parent, right? Like you have to go stand in the corner, right?
Well, yeah, there's consequences to that, but
And
there's
so
also
what
the
if-
ethical aspect of it. Like,
But what if they
you know,
choose to
you
not
listen-
stand in the corner? What if they say no, not doing it? They throw a
well,
tantrum.
I mean, usually that you would put them in a location where they can't harm themselves or whatever, but you would punish them in
By
some way.
force. By force.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what you're saying is you have a class system between the parent and the child. The child's the lower class, and if the child does not basically do what the upper class demands of them, then they're punished by force.
Yeah, but as I said, is that could still mean that the child has an ethical obligation to listen to their parents.
It doesn't matter.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that the original claim, or the question, sorry, was whether people from a lower class had an obligation to a higher class. And there probably is business models where there might be a small business that owes a lump sum of money to a bigger business. Like, I don't see how your worldview of class dynamics really works.
Okay, I mean, I don't see how it wouldn't. Because like you're just putting everything in terms of class and you're describing very basic relationships like between a parent and a child. I don't see that as like a class divide. Like it's not like there's going to be a child union that uprises against the parents and their authority. Like,
Are you sure, bro? Have you seen a kindergarten? They can get
if
pretty.
they do, okay, they can try, but I don't think they have the frontal lobe power to like do anything with that.
Well, I'm just saying is that even still, whether we can have our Marxist-Leninist toddler revolution, like taking over our bourgeoisie of the parents, I think that we need to talk about that regardless, is that I think class is not necessarily even a bad thing in the sense of people can benefit from hierarchy.
But you only describe class as like an unequal power dynamic. That's your description of class.
Well, that's what, if money is power, then ultimately then that's what a class dynamic is.
Sure, fine. But in that case, but usually we refer to that in terms of finances, right? Like economics. So like an economic
Sure,
class.
but when I'm taking more of a philosophical route of understanding,
Fine.
like what we mean by class.
Fine. So the question is, do lower classes have an obligation to the upper classes? And my response is, it's whatever responsibilities are ascribed to them by the upper class, because the upper class has more power.
So if you believe healthcare is a human right, wouldn't the lower class have an obligation to provide care for the higher class?
If healthcare is a human right, wouldn't the lower class have? No, doctors who take that oath would.
Could a doctor be lower class? Could a doctor be lower class than a CEO?
Yeah, sure.
So a lower class person has an obligation to a higher class person.
Yeah, but now you have you're complicating this, because you're trying to mix. See, this is a very nice trick you're trying to do, where you're trying to mix the economic class with the health status class. Okay, because right now the power dynamic with the economic class is such that the sick person has more money, and therefore economically speaking they're in the higher class. But if they have cancer, health-wise, they're in the lower class, right?
Is it possible that, I mean, I hate to use the word it depends, because like, let's say like you're a quadriplegic, but you're still like conscious and you can still make healthcare or you can still make decisions. Is that like, they might be like a multi-billionaire and they have more power and leverage via their finances. However, is that physically in that time through force, is that the person has more power over them?
What person has more? Okay, so you have a quadriplegic with.
So like, let's say like Professor X or some shit. Like, if you're a paralyzed man and you are like a multi-billionaire, okay, is that if you like, what's it called? whether you through your fucking Neuralink or however the way you write it, like you could pretty much like buy out or do whatever. But the thing is that if you stand side by side of a person who's like Francis Ngannou, is that the Francis Ngannou has more power over you physically, but financially
Sure.
is that the other guy has power over him another way. Is that whenever we do look at it from class dynamics as like a realm of power, is that power, what's it called, can come in many forms.
I understand that. What's the point?
My point is that originally is that if I know that you're a communist, but like if we're going to talk about what's it called, like a classless or stateless classless society, is that fundamentally you will always have a power dynamic between people, and you will always have class that is significant to the point of even possibly life and death, as I mentioned
Okay.
with the quadriplegic billionaire.
You're getting into a semantic argument, man. When I say a stateless, classless society, I mean economic class.
Well, it's not that meaningful then if you can still have major power dynamics, is it?
You will always have power dynamics like that. There will always be people who are quadriplegic, okay, and always have people who need trachs and vents, and always have people who have mental disorders.
It's quadriplegic, actually. Correction.
Gotcha.
No, I'm joking. But like,
but my point is, you will always have those dynamics. But so when I say classless society, obviously the one that when you say class, you don't like it wouldn't make sense in your brain because class just means any power dynamic.
Yeah, so what would be really the significance of abolishing like financial class if at the end of the day we're all just going to be unequal anyway?
Because the point is to level out those unequal areas as much as possible, smooth them over, give everybody as much. Like let's say this. Let's say that you're born without legs. Let's say that you're born without legs. Okay? No, not by bringing people down. See, this is where everybody gets it wrong. Communists aren't trying to pull everybody down. They're trying to uplift everybody who's sinking. Okay? So when we say that we want to level the playing field, we don't mean to raise it. Sorry, when I say raise, I mean like that. What we mean is we want to raise up people who are sinking. So like, let's take a person who has no legs, for example. Okay? We give them our prosthetic legs. Maybe one day mechanical legs. They're making great strides on that, so to speak. So like, you know, like we can just give them legs that allow them to walk around, which is great. You're leveling the playing field as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that even still is that you'll never fully do that.
Okay, I think that's doomer talk. We should always strive toward
talk,
it.
it's reality.
Okay, but do you agree though?
You can't.
Okay, fine.
If you're a moral relativist, you can't get an off.
Do you agree that it is a worthwhile endeavor to strive toward that, even if it's impossible?
To make it that people can remain competitive?
No, to level the playing field and make an even out unfair power dynamics, such as that.
Unfair power dynamics or power dynamics in general? Because I don't think all power dynamics are
being
unfair.
born without legs. Should we give the guy who's born without legs prosthetic mechanical legs so he can walk if he wants them?
If he wants them, we can give him prosthetic legs. But here, caveat to that is that, for example, is that I would say that just trying to carve out and make it like, I remember, I think there's even the one guy who doesn't have arms or legs who's a speaker and stuff like that and goes to different things to encourage people. Is that when you just say, oh, level it out, is that doesn't complement his strengths or weaknesses. Is that you can still be a great speaker but still have disabilities. I don't think that you level it out by going to the other guy who does have arms and legs and be like, we're going to train you to be a speaker. My society is complementarian. It's not egalitarian.
I'll take your word for it. Whatever you just said. All I asked was, should we give the guy legs? Okay. And your response was yes. So if we have a disabled speaker who wants to have their disability improved upon to the greatest extent that we're able to, then yes, we should be able to do that. And then if somebody else, let's say that there's a fully able-bodied person.
Wait. You said to the greatest extent. I just said that we can give them legs. And for example, like you can even have your little business, you can sell them however much for the legs. Maybe someone's being generous and they grant it to them, like maybe they're a brother, sure. My point is that regardless, is that when you just say, oh, we'll just go out of our way to provide this equity to other people is that I think equity can be unfair because I have strengths that you fundamentally will never have, and you have strengths that I fundamentally don't have. It's not doomer talk. I think it's beautiful that people have what's it called? Things that they are good at and things that they are bad at, and that we can learn from each other and grow based off that through natural hierarchy.
Okay, but if I am a bad speaker and there is some way to make me a better speaker, and I want to be a better speaker, I think that the means to do so should be available through the least invasive way possible, or through the least, not invasive, the least barricaded way possible, right? The least amount of hurdles.
This is positive. Yeah, this was in my opening, the positive versus negative rights. Is that, like, if you're talking about, like, oh, I'm gonna, what's it called? I'm gonna barricade off the door to the, what's it called? For the quadriplegic or other person to get legs or a wheelchair, I think that'd be crazy. But if we're going to talk about whether we should state mandate and provide that, that's different.
But you want to do that. You want to barricade their access to that through money.
When did I say it was going to be illegal to purchase that stuff?
I didn't say illegal. Okay? If you can't pay for something, it may as well be illegal to get it. It's illegal to take it, right? It's illegal to just take it, right?
Is it illegal to have, in your view, would it be illegal to have a private practice?
In my ideal society, it would not even be a thing.
Yeah, so it would, like, if I wanted to do that, you would not allow me to.
What do you mean? Because there's no money in my society. So why do you want a private practice? Outside of, like, the... Go on.
I for my services, I accept, I don't know, food for my services.
Why? You can just go get food from the food place.
But as I said, is that I think that I can use it. And then pretty much is that the more food I get, I can create and trade and barter for more resources.
Okay, so for your efforts, you want more food than what? Like, than you need? Like, you're just going to have a stockpile of food sitting around?
Well, yeah, because I earned it.
Okay, so, but why should we let you stockpile food when there's plenty of food available right there for you to take whenever you want at your leisure?
Because I used my work and time, and I deserve more for what I give.
Just to have for no reason?
I said that I can invest it, but if I earn it,
invest the food in what?
I mean, I could be a philanthropist and give it out to people. But if I work, let's say if I work 12 hours or you work 8, I deserve more because I worked harder.
So again, in my society, everybody just gets the food already. Why are you giving food out to people who didn't ask for it and don't need it? What do you need all that extra food for?
Granting a utopia, but regardless, is that either way, is that
you said in my society. This is my society.
Well, in your society, we already conceded that in your view, there's still power dynamics, which are pretty much the equivalent of class. But regardless, is that, as I said, is that I think that people deserve more for what they work for.
Okay, so then let's talk about that. How about we give this guy like a free trip to Japan?
There's no such thing as free. Resources are scarce. They always will be.
If enough people want to give you something in exchange for something that you did already, then it may as well be free.
May as well versus actually free. But it's not free. I don't know why you're making faces. It's not free whenever basically it's going to take your time,
you're so caught up in
money.
The word game. You like the word game. You get my point.
Semantics matter?
You get my... No, not really. No. If you don't want to call my system of governance communism, you can call it super capitalism for all I care. Okay, I don't give a rat's ass. Semantics don't matter nearly as much as they only matter in as far as you are trying to get a specific concept across, and you keep skirting past the concept that I am trying to relay to you to get a gotcha. You are doing that every time. Yes, it is. You are so obsessed with winning this stupid debate that you can't just engage in a normal ass. We had people come up here and say, "Dog, everything you're saying is confusing. Answer the question."
Do you know how? Yes, I do.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear it. Practice it.
Okay, let's keep going.
Get better at it.
Okay, I am. Well, if I get better at it, do I get paid more?
We'll pay you $1,000 every minute you practice. Yes, there you go.
Okay, sweet. But regardless,
This is not sanctioned by
It'll be
Platinum
worth it. It'll be
Politics.
worth
That's
it
all
to.
Alec himself.
It'll be worth it to give you the ability. It'll be worth it
He's
to
like, I
give
gotta
you
protect myself.
because right now your communication skills put you at a much lower class than me. So yes, I am in favor of giving you the resources necessary to uplift your
so you're
communication
punching down-
skills
you're punching
such
down,
that you
not
are
up.
intellectually
You're
in the
punching
same
down,
class
not
that
up.
I am at.
Wait, so you're oppressing me then? You're punching down, not up.
I just said we'd give you money to uplift.
But wait, you just said. What, oh wait, you're giving me money to uplift me? Are you actually going to do that?
Yes. Am
Wait,
I
you have
actually going to
Venmo?
do that? No.
Yeah, would you have Venmo?
No, I don't have the money required to do that because I live in a capitalist state and I've been exploited too much. So no, I do not have the money to do that.
Do you have $10?
Do I have $10? Sure. Do you need $10?
Would you actually Venmo? Would you Venmo me $10?
If you can convince me you really, really need it, then maybe.
It would make me happier.
Okay, well, sorry. I like being happy more than I like you being happy.
Oh, so you're selfish.
Yeah, I'm selfish sometimes. I'm just as important as you
So
are. I'd
what-
rather I have the $10.
All right.
Wait, so-
there's a
wait,
there's
so
a
wait,
couple
did-
people. Oh, well,
Okay, sorry.
Connor, if you have a point you want to make real quick, after you make that point though, I want to get these last couple people who have their hand raised so we can get them, get
Yeah,
their
it's been like 3
questions
hours. Let's-
answered.
Yeah.
But go ahead and
Yeah,
finish what you got to say, Connor, and I'll pull those people up.
Yeah, I think by admitting that, you kind of just justified capitalism to the extent of like, I don't need to give you stuff so long as I value my own happiness over yours.
If you say so.
If you say so, that's literally what you said.
I did not contest your point. I said, if you say so.
If you say so,
All
that's
right.
what you said.
Is that okay? Did I offend you?
We are
I mean,
going to
that's
bring
what you-
up Nova Anomaly, who has been waiting very patiently. Hello, Nova.
Hello. I do have a question for Alec.
Hello, that's me.
So you said when you said about healthcare being free, you said so how would because I didn't know if this was already answered or such during the debate. I forget, so I'm sorry. But how would it be paid in your sense? How would we be given free healthcare?
Do you want my short-term solution or my long-term solution? Because the long-term solution is there's no money. You just go get the healthcare when you need it and if you need it.
So if I may ask, why not have this? Why not have single payer, aka the rich people who shouldn't be having that money, give their resources so that people can, because don't people still need to be paid, or in your society, in the society that you want, no one needs that money because money doesn't exist?
Well, right. So the short-term solution would be what you're suggesting, a single-payer system, whereby we tax people who have too much. It's the give to the needy from the rich, right? What's the guy's name? The guy who stole from the rich and give to the needy.
Robin Hood?
Robin Hood. It's the Robin Hood strategy. Yeah. In the
okay.
meantime, while there's still money, I advocate for the Robin Hood strategy.
Robin Hood's still from the government, by the way, in the actual.
Cool.
If I may ask you, Connor, do you detest the idea of for the Robin Hood idea of saying that the government tells the rich, hey, I'm going to ask y'all to give this much money so that people can actually, even if it's a common cold to cancer, they don't need to need to be in debt for the rest of their lives just because they sprained their ankle or something.
I think that mischaracterizes my position because pretty much fundamentally is that I believe that rich people can still fund services and create businesses that help those people and give to those communities. Is that I don't think that you should be able to go around and be like, okay, you're now going to provide all my shit for me. Is that I believe that fundamentally the basic unit is the family unit, and that we can make things more accessible for the family unit, but I don't believe in pretty much people relying off the state in general.
What is wrong with someone relying on, hey, it's like, for example, with New York, if the governor of New York is like, hey, all of you who are rich, you should help out more, we're going to increase your taxes. Do you oppose a governor trying to put in rules for a state then? That
Rules
would
for a
make
state, or are you saying like increasing taxes on rich people?
aka a state increasing taxes on rich people and making sure that the rich people pay more, and so that the poor and less unfortunate they don't need to spend as much money on those taxes, because the thing is that rich people get so much money, they don't really need it, because they
Well, you don't need
quote
an
unquote.
iPhone either. But
What does that have to do with the argument?
well, like pretty much is that your argument is that the rich people don't get, or so you can take from the rich because you don't need something. And I'm saying is that if you're going to make a necessity argument, you don't need a phone, you don't need to be a streamer, and stuff like that.
Well, sometimes people do need certain things, because in this modern economy, we're going to be needing stuff like cars, phones, etc. But we don't
Well, didn't
need.
Alec just say earlier that you can just leave to the other guy? Just leave.
Well, you have two options. Like, if things aren't the way that you want them to be, you have two options. One, you go somewhere where it's better, or where at least you can, not be subject to the same system. Or two, you try to change the system somehow. Like, those are your options.
Well, I'm not trying
Yeah,
to say
I agree with that.
I'm not trying to say I'm wanting to leave. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need. It's like you don't need the most expensive phones, the most expensive cars, and whatnot to flaunt your wealth. What I'm meaning is the basic necessities. As if I'm saying this wrong, Alec, please correct me. The basic necessities of food, water, shelter, all that type of stuff. I'm not saying give you slop. I'm saying give you the basics that can help out, aka internet, phones, cars, all that type of stuff.
Wait,
That
so
will
I'm
help you.
curious. Sorry to interrupt you, but so I'm curious. Would you trade in your phone for a flip phone then, like a burner phone right now?
If I could, yeah, but
So,
with how
oh,
with
so
how society is, with how it's like, aka my flip phone is how I caught. If I had a flip phone, would the flip phone have the same sort of necessities that are on a regular phone, like heart tracking, camera stuff,
you don't
flashlight,
need that
just in
though.
case?
Like
No,
I'm just curious though, is that so like you don't need that, but if you're going to make the argument against rich people, why don't we just make the same argument for you? Is that we have the state come along, we're like, you know what, bro? You don't need your smartphone. You don't need your internet connection. Well, you can get internet, but it's like 2 megabit per second.
Here's
Like
my
just enough.
question. Where does the smartphone go?
Where's the smartphone go?
You take it
Where's it
from
go?
you take it from Nova because you insist that Nova doesn't need it, and you give them a flip phone with less functionality. What do we do with the smartphone?
We scrap it for parts and we give it to poor people.
Okay.
What would poor people do with parts of
But
a phone?
Microchips and phones, they have a lot of silicon and rare earth materials. You
Okay,
could easily recycle them.
What do you mean give it to poor people for what? What are they doing with these parts?
Well, let's say just in this hypothetically, you could scrap it and you could make from a modern iPhone, you could extract the camera. You can make a camera. You could also get it and make like other miniature phones. You could take the data bank. You could sell a hard drive, and you can
Okay.
give that to people who need it.
We have enough iPhones for everybody to have like 10 of them. Why do we need to
It's not
scrap
about
them?
necessity then. It's not about necessity then.
Well, with what I'm trying to say is that does a rich person need a gold encrusted iPhone, or do they just need
Name me
a
one
regular
rich
iPhone?
person. I don't even think Trump has a golden encrusted iPhone.
What about a
What I'm
24
no, what I'm
karat
trying
gold Labubu?
What
no, what
color
I'm
is
trying
your Bugatti?
what I'm trying to say
Bugatti.
is, do you really need that type of stuff? And if I'm going over my time, I'm sorry, but if you want to, Connor or Alec, I can go into a voice chat some other
That's the
time.
mace.
But
Even if you don't need it, I don't think the government should just be coming around taking shit whenever we don't need many things.
well, I'm not saying taking stuff. I'm saying that you don't need. I'm not saying take my stuff. I'm saying, do you really need it? Because I believe in the idea of, do you really need a flaunt? Do you really need to show that you're wealthy? Because your wealthiness can be in the
Nova,
sense of
I will say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can finish.
no. You can go ahead. It's okay.
I will say, I do have some contentions with what you're saying. It's not necessarily a matter of, well, do you really need the gold encrusted iPhone? It's like, are you using resources that other people need to give yourself frivolous things? Like, that's what I'm concerned with. If everybody has what they need and you want a gold encrusted iPhone, my question would be, okay, why do you deserve one? Make us convince us that you deserve one. And if their response is, well, as you can see, I cured cancer, I'd be like, give him 50. Like, you know.
No, I can understand that, but I'm talking about if you give someone like what's a good example? The previous person of Activision. If you get would he deserve such a thing, or would, because I think the cancer cure deserves all they deserve, but I don't think someone like Bobby Kotick deserves any of that type of stuff because of his actions and how he uses his wealth and whatnot.
It's just a matter of, do we have it available, and if he wants it and nobody else wants it, then just give it to him. Why keep it from him? What are we doing with it? Keeping it in a safe or something? Like, for what? Like, just, you understand what I'm getting at, right? Like, we have these needless, like, well, he deserves this and he deserves that, but like, you're just arbitrarily keeping things from people who want those things, and nobody else wants those things, so just give them those things. Like, who cares? Let him have his gold iPhone.
No, I do understand. It's just that I've been looking more into the theorizing of like minimalism and whatnot, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. I do not truly know until I'm challenged more about it, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that, like, I feel like people get in this headspace that, like, communism is all about making sure that we only have the bare minimum that we need to make things work. No, I like excess. Excess is fun. You can see my house. It's covered in art, okay? That's excess. I enjoy riches, and I think that big houses are fun, and big parties are fun, and I like all these things. And we should be able to have these things if we can make sure that everybody has what they need first. That's where I'm coming from.
I do agree with that, and it's like I would be hypocritical to say I don't have excess things in my room.
Yeah.
Because the thing, what I mean by minimalism is that how people should. Your house can be cluttered, but it needs to have control in it, if that makes sense. Because you don't want to suddenly have your 14-karat large Labubu in front of your front door. 20. Yeah, but you get what I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I will say this has been an interesting debate listening to both of you. It's like I have some other opinions, but for now I'm gonna let the other person go through. And if you two ever want to talk again, just let me know. I would love to talk more.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for coming up.
Take it easy, man.
Thank you, Nova. All right.
All right, let's try to wrap this up.
Let's get Ren up here, and then Water, you might go again. It just depends on time.
As long as Water
been going on for a minute, but
as long as Water can keep it quick, because I do have to pee again, but I want to wait until we're done.
All right, Ren, who's your question for? What's your question? You know the rules.
Well, hopefully this should be quick. So, what's Connor? So my question is basically, so if you don't, if there's an issue with providing healthcare as a right, your concern is a supply problem, a payment problem. There's lots of things that we can do to alleviate that, such as making education cheaper, so that it doesn't take 6 figures of debt to make a doctor. Yes. Also,
there's more to that.
No, there's
I'm not
other
gonna grant you
parts
that.
too. It's not my.
I'm not gonna just grant you your hypothetical.
This is not my full question.
Go ahead, bub.
Also, is there any reason for the government and the insurance, or not the government? Is there any reason for the hospitals and the insurance companies to be colluding to extract the money from the local state governments through Medicaid programs?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's also a reason why. That's also a reason why things are expensive.
I mean, I do agree that Medicaid programs do have corruption, and there has been, I think the AHA also supported the passing of the Affordable Care Act, is that businesses do have, what's it called, conflicts of interest over more democratic socialist or social democratic policies, but also for, what's it called, as you mentioned earlier, is that fundamentally, I think that just because people are corrupt does not mean that it negates the means by which they are. I think that I do agree with you. There are ways to mitigate corruption. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying is that it's a better way to mitigate corruption in my view. And when you said about providing education for free, that doesn't reduce the turnover rates for nurses, for example.
I didn't say
Is
free.
that, well, if you provide it via the state or things like that, you're still having a 4-year program, even a 6-year program, and that's not even the fundamental problem with those things. Nurses, after 1 to 2 years, have a very high turnover rate because a lot of them actually get pregnant and start families. So that doesn't fundamentally change the problems that you see in labor shortages in the United States.
Doesn't answer the question of if there's a shortage of nurses and it's not because they're all getting pregnant, it's because it's not a
Stress,
very
usually compassion fatigue, but
it could be compassion fatigue, but it could also be a payment issue. It could be a wage problem. It could be an education problem because, again, higher education is expensive in the U.S.
yeah,
and
so this
those things need to be subsidized, and we also need to be
no. Oh my gosh, this is a real problem in your view because, as I mentioned earlier, is that this leads to the Bowman's cost disease, where pretty much is that wages actually for a lot of these things decrease due to inflation. And when you're just handing out government subsidies, is that you're going to have to increase taxes so they have less money anyway, or print more money.
we're not giving them money directly. We're just we're subsidizing and making it so that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to become a doctor, which is part of the problem of why things cost so much. Because
Wait,
they
so you're
come out
paying
of
for their education?
we're not paying for their education.
What are you
A
paying
lot
for
of
then?
a lot of the fees that you pay for in college, those are all administrative costs. There's a corruption problem in higher
I agree.
education, and there's a corruption problem in hospitals. Hospitals make up fake prices, which the insurances agree to, and the entire point of that is to extract money from the government. It's not the government that's the problem, it's the insurance companies and the hospitals colluding. So that's
No,
why
well, the insurance
that's
companies
why
collude with the state too. They file IRS forms to them.
no, but they're colluding with the state because because the hospitals and the doctors have to charge a higher premium due to either their medical debts from education or the admins of the hospital decide that they need more money, so they raise the prices. They go to the insurance companies, they negotiate that with them, and it's all, again, to extract that capital from the state.
Well, I would disagree that that's necessarily it because even still, whenever you talk about the wages of these groups of people, is that just because you pay people, like you subsidize their wages and stuff, you're just going to incentivize people to go there. And that doesn't get past your problem of the corruption because, as I mentioned, is that's why people are choosing to work at nonprofit hospitals in the first place. And that is because they pay more than private practice, is that they've moved from private practice into the state conglomerates.
They're still not being paid. They're still having to deal with the consequences of the insurance companies colluding with the state to
I, I
inflate
don't
the
I don't
prices.
I don't disagree with the corruption problem. I disagree on the way to fix it and necessarily the particulars.
Well, that was basically my question.
All right. Well, thank you, Bryn. And then we'll get On God I Love Water up here for the last question, and then we'll do our closing and we'll wrap this up. Hello, Water. You know the rules.
Yep, honored to be back. So this is a little bit of a sidetrack. Um, I heard earlier in the debate, Connor, you kept bringing up Christianity and the church and how benevolent these institutions are. I'm curious for both of you, which position tonight do you think was more Christian? The man who says that he wants free healthcare for all, regardless of class, status, or race, versus the guy who's saying that we should rely on billionaires and the ultra wealthy to provide,
Straw
whereas
man.
it's not a straw man. That's what you're saying because you have to cover
No, it's not.
$4.9 trillion
Okay.
of
I like
debt.
I
Well,
like how
hold
you
on.
just loaded that
Hold
question.
on.
that's not
if
that's not
your
Connor's position, then let's let Connor be. Let's be honest and let Connor clarify.
Sure. My position is that I am giving power to the physician or the healthcare provider, the HCP. When you just say the billionaires, is that I already conceded in my opening there's a problem with corruption. I never said that there wasn't. You're just saying that, oh, I'm less Christian because I believe that people can respond to financial incentives. I think that if you want to volunteer, go ahead. And my position rewards people for being generous. And I think that you can still be charitable. I'm not denying that. I don't think that black people should be refused healthcare or anything. That's weird.
I don't know what you're talking about, Connor. That's not my question.
No, you said that Alec's position is being open to all these minority groups, but mine is open to all these minority groups too. You're intentionally trying to skew it that I'm being bad here. And less Christian.
Did you get that, Alec?
No.
I can literally play back the tape. That's
No,
what you
you
said.
asked me like the tape. What I said was race, class, and status. I wasn't accusing
You
of being
focused in on
racist,
race.
classist,
wasn't my point.
Hold on. All Water's trying to say is people get healthcare. Period. End of story. Regardless of their ability to pay. That's my position, and he's saying that is the more Christian position than somebody who says, if I understand correctly, we should give them the care they need, right? But then we need to rely on charities and the like in order to pay off those expenses. And until then, they're in debt, basically.
Yeah, so my question to him would be, find me the verse where Jesus says that the state should be the primary giver of healthcare.
So I think you're intentionally construing. Like Jesus doesn't say that video games are allowed, but I don't think
give unto Caesar what is to Caesar, give unto God what is to God.
We're not getting anywhere. Jesus did not say that you ought to be put in debt for his care, correct? He just gave healthcare.
Gave healthcare?
Yes, Jesus did that.
Well,
I mean, he did. Shit.
Yes,
Jesus
he
is
just
a king.
gave free healthcare.
Yep.
He didn't say, okay, we're going to put this on your. Well, where's your insurance card? Like, let's make sure that you got all the proper paperwork.
Well,
he
actually,
didn't do all
there
that. He
is
just gave healthcare.
No, there actually is an example in the Bible where a woman begs Jesus and he does heal her after that.
Yeah, there's plenty of examples of that. Like the leper who literally like had his arms falling off. Like Jesus didn't call that like a sin. He wasn't in debt to Jesus, right?
Well,
Jesus gave it to him.
Jesus deliberately says that you need to follow him to enter into the kingdom of God.
That wasn't a condition of his care. He didn't care if the person was Christian.
Well, Jesus also has supernatural capabilities.
Okay, but that doesn't address the, like you said, that he tells people to follow him. The guy gave him healthcare for free, literally for free. Not like this thing where it's like, well, your taxes paid for it or whatever.
That's for free.
Like,
that's literally you follow me.
No, it didn't matter if they were Christian.
No, he never said that. That was never anything that Jesus mandated. They just followed him afterwards because they're like, oh my God, this guy can perform miracles and healed me for free. And so they were like, okay, maybe there's something to this guy's teachings.
This is poor liberation theology because pretty much, as I said, is that Jesus also, not to mention the huge problem that Jesus has supernatural capabilities and we have scarcity. The economics of the kingdom of God, I don't know the particulars. But regardless, is that I deliberately said that you can give and be charitable. I am simply saying that, in my view, Jesus even still wants people to follow him and believe in him to enter heaven or the king, and then bring the kingdom of God to earth, and that you can still accept financial, like income for that. I'm not preaching some prosperity gospel, but it's not that money is intrinsically evil. It's that, as I mentioned, is that the abuse of power is evil.
Money isn't.
I was asking if you think the access to healthcare being available to more people through a free system. Do you think that
it's more? It's literally better and more available in my system.
No, I mean, that's up to the audience to decide. I mean, I guess. Do you think that, like, again, like with Alec's position, it's obligatory, right? You would be paying taxes to the state, and your system would be charitable, which is a virtue, sure, but
no.
It's not
Oh my gosh, I literally gave multiple times the extrinsic, which is the private means, and also the the charitable means. They work together.
Neither of them are state.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
The point is, to go back to my original point, the 2-year-old gets saddled with debt. They get the care, they're alive, but they're also saddled with debt. And so they rely on charitable organizations to pay off said debt, or else grow up and possibly die with it, right?
Okay, so I have a question to clarify your position, because with this hypothetical. In the United States, do you think the United States right now recognizes that healthcare is a human right?
I think
Like
we
the U.S.
should.
government.
I think some members
We
of the
don't
government
though right
do.
now. We don't right now,
No,
like
correct.
in law.
Right now in law, no, it's not. Correct.
Okay, so when Medicaid and Medicare deliberately made it so that people with long-term treatments are covered by some extent if they have your hypothetical of cancer treatment, how is that granting your view? Because healthcare is not a right in the U.S., and you just admitted.
Well, for some
even
people,
still,
okay, if Medicare pays for all of it and that's all taxpayer funded, then for some people, sometimes it is a right. Okay?
yeah, and that's why I'm saying is that doesn't grant that healthcare is a human right to all humans. It doesn't support the positive right to all humans.
Okay, a right only matter. Okay, there are two types of ways that people talk about rights. One is what ought to be a right. I believe that healthcare ought to be a right. That's what I mean when I say healthcare is a human right. The other way that people talk about it is...
It's literally in TGE
Sorry, I'm
Bible.
getting a donut.
It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Thank you very much for the 5. The other way that people talk about it is what is currently a right protected by and enforced by the system. Okay? So in that sense, no. Right now, healthcare is not a right, except for some people when Medicaid or Medicare covers it.
Yeah, and that was my main argument this entire time, where pretty much even if I concede to your 2-year-old gotcha, it doesn't demonstrate healthcare as a human right for all people. It only demonstrates for the 2-year-old.
So you think that 2-year-old should have a right to healthcare? In that circumstance, just give them the healthcare because we have the means to do it?
Like through the state? Not through the state. I believe that you can fulfill the
any
obligation.
means necessary. You just figure it out. Take it from somebody. I don't know. There's a 2-year-old with cancer. Steal the money if you must.
There is no such thing as any means necessary. You have to have practical means to do it and make it better for them.
Man, you must be very fun at parties.
Well, I'm correct.
Case in point.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for the question. I think that about sums it up.
All right. Thank you, Water, once again. All right. We'll just go ahead and drop a 5-minute timer. You guys can just close off with thoughts, opinions, and restating your position. Since Alec started it, we'll give Connor the 5-minute closing to start. And your timer starts now.
All right, so I think that we've talked a little bit about class dynamics. We talked about a little bit about communism. We even talked a little bit about healthcare being a human right and what it means to provide healthcare. And whenever Alec also talks about taking an oath, is that as I said, I respect charitable giving and things along those lines. But I know even people who are friends of mine who have taken oaths to value God in their life because of they're also in healthcare. However, I don't see Alex particularly saying that people should use the state to, well, force people to remain part of their faith in general. He's saying that the state should cover all people because a 2-year-old deserves care. And I recognize that's a tragedy, and I think that I want to help those people in need. However, even if I grant his view that we help the 2-year-old with the state, that is just Medicare and Medicaid, which he has conceded not too long ago, literally means that healthcare is not a right in the country. It is the status quo. So my position, by definition, he has conceded the argument. Again, we see that in Scandinavian countries, a lot of these factors are predetermined by social cultural ones rather than systemic ones. India has attempted a universal healthcare coverage system. It failed in the 70s after they declared themselves a socialist republic, and they took themselves off. Nitin Sarandaji documents in both of his books that I mentioned in my opening with people like Devi Shetty, Narayana Clinic, and all them, they provide quicker, better services that are more affordable, $2,000 versus $100,000 in the US, than the social democracies or even the United States. And what we see even is, I agree that there's corruption in the system, but his view does not demonstrate that making it a human right and just using the state or using whatever organization makes it any better. The Urban Institute found that 68% of the nonprofits already are operating off of, the nonprofits in the country are already operating off of government grants. If you take his view to its conclusion, it is entirely virtue signaling, because if you take it to its conclusion, it just monopolizes all the oligopolies that we already see. It just makes them more powerful. And the physician-owned hospital paradigm that I'm supporting shows from the 2015 British Medical Journal, with observational case studies, that they appeal to people who are less fortunate off or less well off. They appeal to people who who are on Medicaid, who have less income, and they do it better. Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, all of them. And the Affordable Care Act makes it worse. Expanding it makes it worse. So overall, I think that even though I think that we can help people and stuff like that, I don't think you have the positive right to healthcare, which has been the main argument of contention this entire time. And I've addressed with my gun analogy in my opening. And I think that it's pretty basic that healthcare fundamentally is better in control of the private means of production with other charitable organizations such as the Catholic Church or church in general or food banks.
All right. And if you do want to like send me the sources, and I could probably post them in like the description whenever this becomes a video, I can definitely do that as well. Alec, 5 minutes starts now.
Sure. This isn't complicated. People deserve health care. This is a moral consideration that I have. I believe no matter whether it's your fault, that you're, quote unquote, your fault, whatever you want to call it, that like you're addicted to something, or you cut yourself, or something stupid like if you got into a motorcycle accident that you need without wearing a helmet that you didn't need to be in. No matter what it is, you should get health care. It should be guaranteed. Okay? And the reason that I think it should be guaranteed is because we have the means to guarantee it. We have it. We have the people. We have the resources. We have everything we need. You can just get the care. And so if we have it and people need it, rather than just not giving it to them because they don't deserve it or it's their fault, why not just give it to them? People make mistakes, okay? And then you go to the situation with the 2-year-old who has cancer. You know, that's not a person who made a mistake. I think we all agree, including my opponent here, that that person deserves that care, okay? And I don't think that Connor believes that 2-year-old ought to die if we have the means to prevent it, okay? What I do think is that Connor is overcomplicating the shit out of this, okay? We don't need insurance. We don't need charities. We don't need all of this extra garbage, okay? This is inefficient nonsense. What we need is healthcare available at the point that people need it, when they need it, to the extent that they need it. And then that is an investment. It's not just a moral good. Like I said at the beginning, we didn't really get to talk about this aspect very much. But it's not just a moral good. This is a societal good, okay? The greatest investment that you can make is in the human. The human body, and specifically the human brain, is so complex and powerful. It is the most unbelievable machine that exists. I can do so many things just by virtue of being a human being with a functioning frontal lobe and all of these different appendages, and I can improve myself to do other things if I want to do that. I can sing, I can work out, I can fight fires, I can take care of people in healthcare needs. I can do all kinds of things. The potential is limitless. And all we're doing by saying, well, that person doesn't deserve the care. Okay, if a machine f***ed up, just from a practical standpoint, if a machine f***s up because it accidentally gets like dust in it or something and it clogs the gears, we don't say, well, f*** the machine, it doesn't deserve to be fixed. We fix it. We just fix it, and we don't expect anything back in return from the machine. It's just an investment in the machine to continue doing its job. And that's how we should start viewing it from a human standpoint as well. I know it sounds a little dehumanizing, but this is just logical. Okay? An investment in humanity will serve the greater good 99.99 times out of 100. It is the single best investment that you can possibly make. The return is unfathomable. And so even from any point that you look at it, it makes sense. It makes sense. And so I just don't understand where all this extra garbage is coming from. Just give people the health care. Just give it to them. And you will be shocked at the return that you get.
I just want to thank both of you for coming up here and debating. Alec, as always, regular. Connor, thank you for coming up here for a first appearance. Would love to have you back. To Alec's audience, or also Connor's audience, if this turns out to be a video on your channel, would love you to come to Platinum Politics. We host debates. You can come debate yourself. And yeah, for anyone who is still in the Platinum Politics audience, go check out these two guys, Alec Gunter or at Alec Gunter TTV, and C-Works for Connor's channel. So, but for now, everyone in the audience right now, you can disperse into a voice chat. Thanks for the debate, guys.
And thank you,
All right,
Connor.
We did get heated at times, but I thought it was a good back
fun.
and forth. I appreciate
It was fun.
I appreciate the time. Yep. All right.
Thanks, man.
Take it easy.
All right, take care, guys. And that is all she wrote.
Please never let us see blood sports again. I am so sad, RN. Poor Dubsy has to edit this, and we all had to listen to it. I am sorry for ever having been the same as Connor rhetorically. Holy shit.
Thank you very much for 100 biddies. And thank you to everybody who donated, including Jay the Cryptid. And I think there was one other person. Thank you, guys. Oh, Jay the Cryptid twice. Thank you for the $10, Jay the Cryptid. Appreciate you. Yeah, so I guess to recap, so James, are you saying that I did blood sports during that, or that you don't want to see blood sports again? Like that guy was trying to engage in blood sports and I wasn't letting him, type of thing? Because that's how I feel that went. He kept trying to get gotchas. He kept trying to poke holes in my case. And I'm not trying to poke holes in his. I mean, I am, but not in a sense of I'm trying to beat him. I'm just trying to understand it, because the way that he put it forward, there are so many flaws in his logic that none of it adds up, and this is why my new strategy is just let these people show that they are wrong, because they are. People try too hard in these debates. Leftists try too hard. Okay. You need to trust that you're right. And if you're not right, you need to give up the point and concede. And I didn't feel the need to concede in that debate. There was nothing there there was no substance there, So I have these debates not because I'm trying to be right. I have them because, well, I am trying to be right. But the way that I'm trying to be right is reach the most correct conclusion. Okay? I went into this debate with an open mind thinking, okay, maybe he's got some good points to present. Maybe he has some good challenges to my case. We never got past a 2-year-old with cancer. It seemed that was a pretty hard stuck moment for him, because he could not just say that yeah, I concede that in my system, there's a chance that the parents won't be able to provide the care necessary for this 2-year-old and the 2-year-old's going to die. Just say it. Just own it. Okay. I think he eventually did, but there was so much teeth grinding and I had to really, really force that point home, because he just kept saying, well, every system does that. I didn't ask about every other system. So I don't think that he wants 2-year-olds to die. I don't think that of Connor. What I do think is that he is, for some reason, prioritizing capitalism over the good of humanity. Probably because he thinks that capitalism is for the good of humanity in some ways. There's a knot in his neural circuitry that I was trying to untangle the entire time. But unfortunately, imagine the neuron as a knot, and I can only be on one end of the knot pulling it. He's got to be on the other end also pulling it to undo it. And so it can't be undone if he's unwilling to concede the point at all, no matter what I say or do. And he just keeps fighting and saying, no, trust me, bro, my system's better, bro, I swear, bro. And he used all this intellectual mumbo jumbo in order to dress up his point. You don't need all that. That's a form of peacocking. You guys remember peacocking? Okay? Making yourself appear very smart and very well read in order to scare off your opponent or make yourself look nice to the audience. Nobody gives a shit. I didn't know half the names that he said or the books that he dropped. I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody is sitting here saying, well, Alec, boy, howdy, you did good, I guess, but boy, was he better read than you were. If nothing else, take this from this conversation. People don't give a shit how much you know.
Yeah, no, I was just so frustrated trying to
Thanks
hear
for
Connor
interrupting my
being
quote,
so
James.
incredibly smug and annoying with you. then just being a normal dude when he was asked questions.
Thank you very much for 100 biddies. People don't give a shit how much you know until they know how much you give a shit. And frankly, I just don't think Connor did not come off as though he gives a shit. So who gives a shit how much he knows? Doesn't matter.
Hi, thanks so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you all know that I love and appreciate everybody in my community, whether you can support me financially or just by liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. It helps way more than you know. That being said, I do want to give a very special thanks to my tier 4 subs, which would be Space Timid and Hot Take Andy. And thanks so much to my monetary subscribers from any of the tiered subs or anybody who gives me money in any form, including going to my Patreon shop, donating money to me directly. It all helps way more than you know. If you do decide to help me financially, you can get some really cool perks like early access to content, exclusive access to censored videos, also some really cool badges next to your name. Even if you can't afford a monetary subscription, just watching, sharing, and commenting on my content helps way more than you know. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video.